The world is still full of unsolved mysteries, from sunken cities beneath the sea and ruins buried by volcanoes to legends of ancient gods and mysterious rituals that survive only in the memories of folklore. Though time and nature may have hidden these stories, they continue to inspire humanity's drive to explore. So fasten your seatbelt as we dive into today's mystery. But first, you'll have incredible luck if you like, and subscribe before this video ends. Sacrificial offerings to the volcano in modern times. Across the highlands of East Java, Mount Bromo rises as a sacred symbol that the local people have been bound to for generations. For the Tenga community living around the base of the volcano, Bromo is not simply a part of nature. It is the dwelling place of the gods, the place where every hope and every worry is directed toward the smoldering crater above. Each year, as the Yadnya Kasada festival approaches, the atmosphere of the entire region changes, and the Tenga community once again prepares for its most important ritual. The Yadnya Kasada ceremony has existed for more than 7 centuries, tracing its origins to the legend of a royal couple who could not have children, and, after praying to the gods at Bromo, were finally blessed with an heir. Since then, the Tenga people have believed that every blessing, from favorable weather and abundant harvests to the peace of the village, comes from the protection of this volcano. And to express their gratitude, they bring the finest fresh fruits, rice, food, and sometimes even livestock such as chickens and goats, climbing the steep slopes all the way to the mouth of the volcano. There, in the swirling mist and the sharp smell of sulfur, these offerings are cast down into the smoking crater as a message to the gods, hoping that they will accept the gifts and bestow a peaceful new year upon the people. Yet not every year brings good fortune. In recent years, climate change has made the weather increasingly unpredictable. The land has grown dry, crops have struggled to take root, and failed harvests have left the Tenga people with ever heavier burdens. In this context, the Yadnya Kasada ceremony is not just an ancient tradition, but has also become a source of hope, the only way the community can entrust their faith to the possibility of something good, no matter how small, in a world that is changing rapidly. Despite advances in science and technology, the belief in the power of the gods and the volcano remains unshaken here. The sight of thousands of people clinging to the steep mountainsides, bringing offerings to the gods, is a vivid testament to the invisible thread that links past and present. This tradition not only keeps the memory of their ancestors alive, but also creates a unique identity, binding people to nature and to Mother Bromo with every beat of daily life. Mythological inspirations in the film Moana. The film Moana is not simply an animated work meant for entertainment. It also opens a door into the vibrant mythological world of the Polynesian and Maori peoples. The name Moana itself comes from the language of these two cultures and means ocean, a symbol deeply intertwined with the spirit and daily life of the people who inhabit the Pacific Islands. From the very first scenes, viewers are swept into the rhythm of the ocean, where rolling waves and a sky full of light set the stage, and every movement is connected to ancient traditions. The characters who appear in Moana are not random creations. Each one carries within them the breath of ancient mythology. Maui, the hero with the magical fishhook, is a direct reflection of the demigod celebrated in Polynesian legend. In those stories, Maui is famous for his creativity and adventurous spirit, the one who hauled islands up from the ocean's depths and even tricked the sun to bring light to humankind. In the film, Maui appears both powerful and humorous, capturing the optimism and determination to overcome fate that define the people of the islands. The Kakamora, the odd, tiny creatures in the movie, are also inspired by folk tales about forest spirits or mysterious beings that protect nature. They are not merely Moana's adversaries, but also represent the sacred and uncanny power of the ancient forests. Meanwhile, Te Ka, the character symbolizing the myth of the battle between fire and water, serves as a metaphor for the struggle between two natural forces, fire standing for destruction and rebirth, and water representing life and compassion. Throughout the film, viewers can sense the deep connection between humans, nature, and the spiritual world in Polynesian culture. The old stories are not only retold in vivid fashion, but become lessons about courage, love for one's homeland, and respect for the ocean. Every action Moana takes, every journey she makes across the vast sea, is an expression of the desire to reach farther and assert one's identity, while also reminding us that beneath the surface of the blue water lies an entire treasury of legend waiting to be discovered. The Frozen Throne of the Gods. Rising high amid the white clouds of the African continent stands a mountain that embodies both the majesty of nature and the profound depth of legend. Mount Kenya, the second highest glaciated peak in Africa, is not only a masterpiece of creation, but also the throne that countless generations have gazed upon with reverence. Towering at more than 17,000 feet, its snow-capped summit gleams year-round, a striking figure amid the ancient forests and winding rivers that flow at its base. On sunny days, each beam of light glistens across the icy slopes, making it easy to imagine having wandered into a mythical realm where only the gods themselves are permitted to set foot. For the Kikuyu people, one of Kenya's oldest and largest communities, this mountain is not merely a feature of geography. In their consciousness, it is the dwelling place of Ngai, the supreme god, the creator of all things and the source of fortune and prosperity. Legend tells that long ago, the ancestor of the Kikuyu, named Gikuyu, was brought by Ngai to the summit, where he was granted the right to rule over the vast lands stretching beneath the mountain. It was there, following the god's guidance, that Gikuyu founded a family with his wife Mumbi, a gift from Ngai. And from this couple, the 9 Kikuyu clans were born, writing the earliest pages in the community's history. For centuries, Mount Kenya has been the center of sacred rituals and ancestral worship. Whenever faced with hardship, be it drought, disease, or war, the Kikuyu would always turn toward the summit, praying and offering gifts to Ngai in hopes of receiving his blessing. The soaring mountain and boundless sky became a part of their very blood, a tradition that flowed through generations and never faded, even as the storms of history swept over the land. In the early 20th century, the British arrived on this soil, bringing with them great upheaval. Declaring themselves protectors, they seized the fertile lands around the mountain's base, driving the Kikuyu from their homeland and forcing them to struggle to preserve their identity in the face of colonial rule and assimilation. Tea and coffee plantations sprang up on the very ground their ancestors had once cultivated and venerated. Christianity spread. Ancient rituals were gradually restricted, yet the desire to maintain their roots continued to burn quietly within every Kikuyu soul. In the darkness of long years without a country, the sacred mountain remained the place to which they looked, the place where all hope and the pain of loss were entrusted. The day Kenya regained its independence was also the day this mountain became a symbol of rebirth, a symbol of the yearning to control one's destiny and affirm one's own identity. Although modern society has brought many changes, and even though more than 70% of Kikuyu people today follow Christianity, in times of hardship, in years of unusual drought, or when epidemics break out, people still remember to look up toward Kirinyaga and quietly send their prayers skyward, hoping that Ngai will once again listen and offer protection to his people. Tradition may change, and culture may blend over time, but the faith in the power of the sacred mountain, in the spiritual bond between humanity and the divine, remains as steadfast as the ancient ice that has covered the peak of Kenya for thousands of years without melting. The Maya Underworld beneath Chichen Itza. If you have ever thought that death was the end of a person's journey, then for the Maya civilization, it was only the beginning of a truly haunting adventure. In Maya mythology, the underworld, known as Xibalba, is the place where souls must undergo countless, terrifying ordeals. It is a land of darkness and fear, where each soul is forced to face cruel trials, to cross rivers filled with deadly creatures, to find their way through perilous labyrinths, and even to encounter extremely harsh gods of darkness. For the Maya, Xibalba was not merely a supernatural image, it was a real part of the world, present right beneath their feet, within the cold and mysterious ground of the Yucatan. The entrances to the underworld were not just symbolic images. Since ancient times, the Maya believed that the deep caves and sacred water wells, known as cenotes, were the actual gateways leading down to Xibalba. Any area deemed sacred, where rituals were performed, could also be a threshold to the world beyond. The stone walls, covered with strange shapes and figures, the sacrificial ceremonies, and the legends of journeys from which there was no return, all of these have fueled the imagination, casting a mysterious atmosphere over Chichen Itza for thousands of years. Today, when these legends might seem like nothing more than stories told around the fire, modern archaeologists have unexpectedly brought new life to those old beliefs. They descend into the earth beneath Chichen Itza, not only with their hands and maps, but also equipped with the most advanced technology, such as ground-penetrating radar to search for hidden voids under the pyramids, sonar mounted on boats to quietly scan the deep waters of the cenotes, and 3D mapping technology that recreates every corner where light has never reached. This search is not merely an exploration of ancient sites, but is also a journey through layers of memory and the ancient faith of the Maya. The results have not disappointed anyone. Under the base of the El Castillo Pyramid, researchers discovered a system of caves and underground wells that had never been recorded before, along with many ancient ritual artifacts and even statues carved in the shape of women, images deeply connected with religion and mysterious rituals. The underground waterways crisscross beneath the old city like blood vessels, showing that this place was not only a center of power, but also a spiritual gathering point, where the real world and the world of legend came together. These new discoveries have made many people suddenly wonder, perhaps Maya legends were never just illusions. Beneath layers of ancient stone and earth, hidden far beneath the steps where tourists still look up at this wonder, there may still remain an intact underworld, waiting to be uncovered, like a bridge that links the mysterious past with the present, deepening the enduring strength of beliefs that have survived through the centuries. The destroyed city of Sin. Amidst the ancient landscape of the Jordan Valley, once the vibrant heart of Bronze Age civilizations, archaeologists have uncovered a ruin that has stunned the world, the city of Tal el-Hammam. This city was once the largest urban center in the region around 3,700 years ago, with towering walls, sturdy mud brick buildings, bustling markets, and thousands of inhabitants. But then, everything was reduced to ashes in an instant. All life, architecture, and traces of human existence erased from the earth as if they had never existed. What brought about this terrifying catastrophe? After years of excavation and study, scientists have identified some truly extraordinary clues. Shards of pottery melted by extreme heat, city walls completely demolished, human and animal bones destroyed beyond recognition. All the evidence points to a violent explosion with a force thousands of times greater than an atomic bomb. Geological analysis suggests that a meteor or comet tore through the atmosphere and exploded in mid-air, unleashing a shockwave and a firestorm beyond imagination. Temperatures exceeding 2,000 degrees Celsius incinerated the entire city, liquefying or vaporizing everything in its path and leaving behind a barren landscape coated in a deadly layer of salt that persisted for centuries. If it ended there, Tal el-Hammam would stand simply as evidence of nature's destructive power. But what makes this story more compelling than ever is its uncanny resemblance to ancient biblical legends. Researchers have noted that the description of Tal el-Hammam is almost identical to the accounts of Sodom and Gomorrah, the infamous cities destroyed by fire and brimstone from heaven in the wrath of the divine. The ancient texts speak of smoke rising like a furnace, land turning to salt, and the inhabitants being wiped out in an instant, echoes that now resound in modern archaeological discoveries. It is at the boundary between science and myth that thousand-year-old mysteries such as Sodom and Gomorrah are illuminated by the light of knowledge. Whether Tal el-Hammam is in fact the biblical Sodom remains debated, but it is clear that the disaster which occurred here was preserved and passed down through generations, becoming a cautionary tale about both the forces of nature and deeper moral values. And in every layer of earth, in every charred fragment of pottery, we can still feel the power of legend, a place where the past, science, and faith blend into a timeless reminder of humanity's fragility before the universe. The Romans ate fish brains to get high. In the world of ancient Rome, where lavish banquets and mysterious rituals took place without end, there existed a strange habit that would make many people today shudder: eating fish brains to get high. Not just any fish was chosen, but rather the dreamfish, a special species found in the Mediterranean, whose brain contains powerful hallucinogenic compounds that science has yet to fully explain. Historical records reveal that the ancient Romans were not merely passionate about wine or everyday entertainments. For the elite, indulging in the brains of dreamfish during rituals or ceremonial gatherings was a unique way to expand consciousness, and some even believed it allowed them to communicate with the gods or cross into another world through intense spiritual experiences. Those who consumed the fish brains often underwent indescribable sensations, distorted vision, sounds, and colors blending together, and some even believed they had left their bodies, wandering into a realm where reality and dreams intertwine. But this experience was not always purely mystical. Many who took part in the fish brain rituals suffered from lingering nightmares, temporary memory loss, or even needed several days to recover. These effects were sometimes regarded by priests or religious leaders as a kind of test to measure one's courage or worthiness to approach the divine. Interestingly, the Romans were not the only culture to believe in the power of mind-altering substances in rituals. In ancient Judea, archaeologists have discovered traces of cannabis in temples, proving that the use of hallucinogens to draw closer to the gods was also common in religious ceremonies. In ancient America, many tribes used various hallucinogenic plants during sacrificial rites or rainmaking ceremonies. Over thousands of years, the use of dreamfish brains as a key to open the door to the mystical world remains a controversial topic. Was it mere superstition, or a deep-seated human longing to transcend one's own limits and seek answers to mysteries beyond ordinary understanding? Whatever the answer, the legend of the mysterious dreamfish brain ritual still lingers, an alluring shadow in the history of humanity. The survival story of the Arman in the Brazilian Amazon. Amid the vibrant yet perilous expanse of the Amazon rainforest, there are somber stories of resilience and unspeakable sorrow among the region's minority peoples, and the life of this AWA man stands as the clearest testament to the fragile fate of humanity in the face of both nature and society. The AWA people have traditionally lived a nomadic life, moving quietly among ancient trees, silently hunting and gathering, surviving by what the forest could provide. But that peaceful existence was violently shattered when waves of miners descended upon their ancestral lands. In a brutal attack, the man's family was killed before his eyes. The sounds of gunfire, barking dogs, and shouting men vanished into the wind, leaving him alone in the deep forest, surrounded only by darkness and painful memories. He ran for his life, taking nothing with him but his fragile existence and a grief too immense to name. For 10 years, he survived like a ghost among the trees, avoiding all traces of humanity, living by skills passed down through countless generations. He lived among monkeys, listened to the calls of birds, learned how to evade jaguars and venomous snakes, each day a struggle to reclaim life from the hands of a harsh wilderness. No one knew his fate until local farmers happened upon him and brought him back to the world of people. The miraculous survival of the Awa man quickly spread, becoming a symbol of endurance, the will to live, and the pain of loss faced by Amazonian peoples in the modern world. But the tragedy did not end there. When the COVID-19 pandemic reached the seemingly untouchable forests, the man again became a victim of a force he could not withstand. Having survived 1,000 dangers in the jungle, he ultimately fell to a disease brought by modern civilization. His death was not just a personal loss for his small family, it was an alarm bell for humanity about the precarious future of indigenous peoples faced with the storms of exploitation and disease. Though his story has ended, the haunting shadow of a vanishing culture lingers among the trees, reminding us of the value of courage, the tragedy of isolation, and the boundless compassion we owe to those small, forgotten lives deep in the heart of the great forest. The town living inside a volcano's mouth in Japan. Amid the vast ocean south of Tokyo, shrouded in sea mist and salty winds, Agushima Island emerges as one of nature's true marvels. This small island is, in fact, the caldera of an active volcano, smoldering year-round, holding within it both a captivating beauty and an ever-present threat. What makes Agushima truly remarkable is not just its dramatic landscape, but the story of those who have chosen to tie their lives to a land situated right in the very heart of a volcano. The moment you set foot here, you immediately sense an atmosphere that is both peaceful and tinged with suspense. Viewed from above, Aogashima resembles a giant bowl with a smaller crater at its center, creating a structure rarely seen elsewhere in the world. The island's charming homes are scattered along the crater's slope, surrounded by deep green forests and fertile terraced field. Each morning, mist and gentle steam from natural hot springs drift across the island, forming an enchanting, tranquil, and mysterious scene. Strangely, though they live constantly under the shadow of a disaster that could strike at any time, the residents of Aogashima maintain a rare and enduring optimism. They know all too well the island's haunting past, the catastrophic eruption of 1785 that wiped out more than half the population, turning this place into a Pompeii in the heart of Japan. Yet, rather than leave forever, the survivors were determined to return, rebuilding their homes and nurturing the land long known as a paradise on the edge of extinction. For them, danger is an essential part of what gives life here its unique value. The land around the volcano is especially fertile, bringing abundant harvests. Natural hot springs serve as both a source of relaxation and a precious gift from nature itself. Each day, they can walk through untouched forests, immerse themselves in warm waters, and enjoy an extraordinary freshness of air. Many consider Aogashima to be a true paradise, a place where people live in harmony with nature, separated from the noise of the modern world. When asked about the fear of volcanic disaster, most Aogashima residents simply smile, treating it as a natural part of life. For them, no one can overcome the power of nature. So instead of worrying, it is better to savor each day and cherish what they have. The balance between danger and peaceful beauty has shaped a way of life that is both resilient and serene, yet always full of inspiration. In this way, Agushima stands as a living testament to the human spirit, the willingness to face challenges and seek happiness right on the fragile boundary between life and death. The divine city submerged beneath the Indian Ocean. As the sun sets over the western coast of India, the waves of the Arabian Sea gently lap against the golden sands, carrying with them ancient legends of a sacred city now sunk deep beneath the waters. This is Dwarka, the legendary capital of the god Krishna, a city celebrated in Hindu epics as one of the most magnificent wonders humanity has ever known. In the pages of ancient chronicles, Dwarka appears as a splendid metropolis on the banks of the Gomti River, with palaces gilded in gold, domes sparkling with precious stones, and avenues stretching to the horizon. It is said that Krishna himself built this city to serve as the capital of his kingdom, a place where gods and heroes gathered, where miracles and prosperity went hand in hand. But the fate of Dwarka is no different from other great legends, brilliant, then vanishing in mystery. According to mythology, after Krishna left the mortal world, the sea rose in massive waves and engulfed the entire city beneath the ocean. The golden spires, jeweled domes, and all traces of a divine civilization were swept away in an instant, leaving only an echo beneath the deep waters. For centuries, it seemed like nothing more than a story. Yet in recent decades, the seas off modern Dwarka have become a magnet for archaeologists and divers from around the world. In the clear blue waters, they have found neatly stacked stone blocks, sturdy pillars, and the remains of walls thought to have been lost to time. In particular, some structures lying deep on the seabed have unusual shapes, resembling remnants of grand buildings. Many believe these are the very evidence of the legendary city that once existed in reality, the fossilized layers of a civilization that rivaled the greatest myths of mankind. Yet, the search for the truth of Dwarka remains unfinished. The scientific community is still divided over the evidence uncovered. Some experts suggest these structures may belong to another civilization, or are merely natural phenomena that have been woven into legend. Still, many researchers, divers, and Hindu devotees insist that if you stand by the shore on a windy night and listen to the sound of the waves, you can sense the echo of a sacred city lying between two worlds, where history and myth are intertwined as one. Perhaps the truth of Dwarka still lies beneath layer upon layer of ocean waves, never fully revealed to humankind. Yet, it is precisely this mystery that keeps the legend of Krishna's city alive in human imagination, a question without an answer, a mysterious piece connecting the world of myth to the modern discoveries that continue to this day. The fire goddess of Hawaii. On the smoking volcanic slopes of the Hawaiian Islands, the legend of the goddess Pele remains alive in every story, every song, and every ritual of the people who call this place home. Pele is not only a symbol of nature's power, but also the embodiment of humanity's most intense emotions, from burning love to explosive anger, from the longing to be loved to the desire for revenge and renewal. In Hawaii, every volcanic eruption is seen not only as a natural phenomenon, but also as a sign that Pele is present, expressing her emotions and will. According to ancient legend, Pele was not born in Hawaii, but came from a distant land, Tahiti. Because of her fiery temperament and passionate spirit, she was exiled from her homeland by her parents, beginning a journey across the ocean that would ultimately bring her to the Hawaiian Islands. On each island that Pele set foot upon, she left her mark, creating new volcanic craters and rivers of glowing lava streaming down the mountainsides, opening up fertile land for life to flourish. But behind these acts of creation are stories of ill-fated love, fierce rivalries, and eruptions of anger that could reduce entire forests and mountains to ashes. What gives Pele her mysterious allure is the many forms she takes in Hawaiian folklore. At times, she appears as a young and beautiful woman, with long black hair and captivating eyes, enchanting the men she meets on her travels. Yet, she can also take the shape of an old, hunchbacked woman, quietly leaning on a stick, asking passers-by for water or food. In Hawaiian tradition, it is believed that if you meet a strange old woman on the road who asks for kindness, you must treat her well, for it could be Pele herself testing your heart. Those who accidentally offend or refuse her are said to face her wrath, violent eruptions or rivers of lava that consume everything in their path. Yet Pele is not just a symbol of destruction, but also a source of hope and rebirth. When lava sweeps away the forests, it is only a matter of time before new green shoots appear through the ash. This cycle of destruction and renewal continues, shaping the unique fertility of the Hawaiian Islands. In traditional festivals, in the dances of hula, in songs and stories told around the fire, the image of Pele is always evoked with both reverence and awe. The people here still send prayers to the goddess, hoping she will grant peace, abundance, and protection from the sudden rages of nature. Even though modern science has explained much about the causes of volcanic eruptions, for many Hawaiians, seeing smoke and fire rise from the crater is still to feel the sacred presence of Pele. The legend of the fire goddess does not merely live on in memory or in books, it continues to flow, enriching the identity and faith of the Hawaiian people generation after generation. Percy Forcet and the Lost City of Zed. In the history of the most mysterious explorations of the 20th century, there is no name that haunts those who love discovery more than Percy Forcet, the British explorer who devoted his whole life to searching for a mythical city in the heart of the Amazon rainforest, a place he called the City of Z. For Forcet, Zed was not only a destination on the map, but also the answer to the great legends about lost civilizations, legends that could rival even Atlantis in European mythology. He believed that deep within this dense jungle there were traces of ancient communities, and perhaps even descendants of the ancient Celts. Starting from the early 20th century, Percy Forcet continuously carried out bold expeditions into lands that had never been marked on the map of South America. He did not only rely on the old records of the Portuguese, but also documented strange experiences of encountering groups of indigenous people with white skin and blonde hair, which was completely different from the genetic traits of native Amazonian inhabitants. This detail sparked the theory about the existence of a mysterious community with blood ties to the Celts in Europe, people who might have crossed the ocean to South America thousands of years ago and left faint traces in the depths of the forest. The obsession with the city of Zed grew larger and larger, and by 1925, Percy Forcet decided to make his final journey together with his son Jack and a close friend. They left the starting point, plunged into the green maze of the Amazon rainforest, carrying hopes of a discovery that would shake the world, but then disappeared without a trace. The disappearance of Forcet and his two companions became an eternal mystery, leaving behind countless rumors and never-ending theories. There were rumors that they were killed by indigenous tribes for breaking the laws of the forest, and also accounts that they died of starvation or got lost. There were even chilling stories about a shrunken head found in the area where the expedition disappeared, said to be that of Percy Forcet. The city of Zed has never been verified, and the fate of Percy Forcet remains a huge question mark for the archaeological world. But the story of a man who dared to face the jungle, who dared to challenge the limits of survival, and who carried with him an unbreakable belief in a great mystery has become an endless inspiration for generations that followed, urging those with a thirst for exploration to continue stepping into the land he once traveled through, with the hope that one day the secret of the City of Z will truly be revealed in the endless heart of the Amazon. The shipwreck of Our Lady of Wonders. The story of the ship Our Lady of Wonders, lying deep beneath the turquoise waters of the Bahamas, has long become a legend that haunts the dreams of explorers and treasure hunters alike. In 1656, this ship set sail with a noble mission: to bring back to the King of Spain the most magnificent treasures ever gathered from the New World. Yet, fate had already decided on a tragic ending when the ship met disaster at sea and disappeared beneath the waves, taking with it a cargo of gold, silver, precious gems, and untold secrets. Over the centuries, the location of the wreck has never truly faded into obscurity. Countless expeditions have poured their efforts into salvaging it. Some treasures have been recovered and brought up from the depths, but no one dares to say for certain that all its mysteries have been revealed. Even in modern times, the fever for hunting the treasures of Our Lady of Wonders has not cooled. Most recently, archaeologists have once again descended to the ocean floor, where sunlight barely penetrates, and found themselves astonished by the beauty of bright golden chains and precious pendants, still lying undisturbed among ancient coral formations. Some call it a miracle, while others believe that luck only smiles on those who are truly persistent and possess the heart of a born explorer. The quest to recover the ship's treasures is not just a race against time, but a journey that tests courage and an unquenchable curiosity. Each new discovery rekindles hope for an entire generation of divers and archaeologists, fueling the belief that somewhere beneath the deep sea, countless mysteries remain untouched. The story of Our Lady of Wonders does more than conjure up images of glittering coins. It reminds us of the endless allure of the past and the treasures history has left behind for those bold enough to seek them. The mysterious walled city of ancient Peru. Deep within the Amazonian forests of Peru lies an ancient city that, for centuries, remained hidden beneath dense foliage and the perpetual mist of the tropics. This place was once home to nearly 10,000 people, a thriving community that managed to build a magnificent stone metropolis high in the mountains. Towering walls encircled the city, protecting its inhabitants from the dangers of nature and hostile neighboring tribes. Every structure was crafted entirely from stone, forming an unbroken chain of formidable defenses unlike anything else in the Amazon. According to many researchers, this city may have been the work of the Chachapoyas culture, a mysterious people known as the Warriors of the Clouds. Unlike most other ancient civilizations in Peru, the Chachapoyas stood out for their tall stature, fair skin, and above all, their remarkable bravery. They chose to live hidden in the forested heights of rugged mountains, building strongholds as if to defy every challenge nature could throw their way. For centuries, this stone city existed in silence, its legend untold. Only when modern expeditions crossed treacherous mountains and fought through layers of ancient jungle did the first remnants appear, illuminated at last by sunlight. Archaeologists discovered traces of entire neighborhoods, plazas, winding stone-paved roads snaking along the hillsides, and colossal walls that still seemed to stand guard, protecting secrets 1,000 years old. Although the city was once a flourishing center, its fate was eventually sealed by the powerful Inca Empire. The Inca marched into the region, incorporating it into their vast domain. Remnants of a small settlement built by the Incas are scattered among the ancient ruins, confirming that the city once fell into the hands of conquerors from the Andes. Today, although much of the city remains engulfed by the jungle, its surviving stone walls still rise proudly amid the wild, a lasting reminder of a brilliant civilization gradually lost to the mysteries of the Amazon. Standing before these moss-covered stones, many cannot help but wonder about the lives once lived here, about the people who walked daily in the shadows of these mighty walls, and about what secrets might still be sleeping beneath the earth, waiting for their story to be told. The Bise Monster. Nearly 30,000 years ago, the landscape of Bise was utterly different from the humid jungles we see today. At that time, the cold and dry climate of the Ice Age had transformed this region into a vast and barren steppe. Amid that scene, one of the most extraordinary creatures ever to walk the earth, the giant ground sloth, wandered quietly in search of water to survive. These animals were massive, as tall as giraffes, covered in thick, shaggy fur, and armed with powerful claws, making them seem as if they had stepped out from a distant prehistoric age. One day, a giant ground sloth strayed into a deep natural pit, at the bottom of which lay a pool fed by icy groundwater. Driven by unrelenting thirst, it likely leaned down to drink, only to suddenly slip and tumble into the depths of the well, unable to find its way out. That harsh fate ended its life in silent darkness, deep beneath the earth, where neither light nor life seemed able to reach. Time passed quietly. Layers of sediment and groundwater gradually enveloped the giant creature's body. Tens of thousands of years later, as the climate changed and the jungle reclaimed the land, the remains of the giant ground sloth lay undisturbed at the bottom of the underground lake, its fossils preserved in silence. It was not until 2014 that scientists and divers discovered bone fragments, a large tooth, and a nearly intact leg bone beneath the clear waters at Carablanca. This discovery not only helped reconstruct the image of a species that once dominated the continent, but also shed light on a period in history when humans and giant animals coexisted on the land of Central America. The presence of the ground sloth's fossils here stands as a reminder of a wild and mysterious world, one where nature and humanity once faced gigantic, strange creatures that have now disappeared entirely from the planet. It is also living proof that the story of natural history is always hiding new mysteries waiting to be discovered, and that each fossil found opens another chapter in the story of life on Earth. The hippos of drug lord Pablo Escobar in Colombia. When people mention Pablo Escobar, what comes to mind is an era of bloodshed and unchecked power in Colombia, a time when stories of crime and drugs seemed endless. But the legacy Escobar left behind is not just the shadow of criminality, it also manifests in a wild, unexpected, and extremely dangerous way, right in the heart of Colombia's natural landscape, his herds of giant hippos. 30 years ago, as Escobar built his private kingdom at Hacienda Napoles, he didn't just amass gold, weapons, and money, he also imported exotic animals from all over the world, transforming his estate into a personal zoo. Among these strange creatures, the African hippos were the only species to survive and thrive after Escobar was killed and his empire collapsed. Released into the lakes and rivers near the abandoned mansion, only a handful of hippos roamed free at first, but over time, they multiplied far beyond anyone's expectations. Today, hundreds of hippos have become the new masters of the rivers in northern Colombia. Once native only to African waterways, these animals have adapted in astonishing ways, turning this foreign land into their own territory. But the story doesn't end there. They have rapidly become an unprecedented ecological crisis. With no natural predators, a strong reproductive rate, and dominance over water sources, the hippos have driven many native species to the brink of danger. Waterways have become polluted, ecosystems have been disrupted, and most alarmingly, the risk to humans has increased, with more frequent attacks by these enormous hippos, sometimes far more aggressive than anyone ever imagined. Ecologists and authorities have repeatedly warned about the dangers posed by Escobar's hippos, but controlling or relocating them has proven nearly impossible. Their numbers are too great, the terrain too complex, and heated debates over animal rights make action even harder. Meanwhile, the hippos continue to roam freely through Colombia's wild landscapes, becoming both a darkly humorous and chilling symbol of a chaotic era, and a costly lesson in the unpredictable consequences of humans meddling with nature. Escobar's legacy, in a way, continues to haunt Colombia to this day, not just through tales of power, but through the thundering footsteps of hundreds of hippos stirring up the tropical rivers, leaving an indelible mark on this land. The sea monster statue in the Cambodian jungle. Deep in the jungles of Cambodia, people were stunned to discover a bizarre ancient statue, Makara, the legendary sea monster of Hinduism, lying there in silence like a petrified memory from a distant past. What astonished both archaeologists and local villagers was not only the fact that this artwork is 1,500 years old, but also its remarkably strange location. The statue sits in total isolation, with no trace of any temple or religious structure nearby. Makara, in Hindu mythology, is a mystical creature with the body formed from parts of a fish, an elephant, a crocodile, or even a lion, a symbol of the ocean's power and the vehicle of the sea gods. In ancient architecture, Makara usually appears as a protective image at the entrances of major temples, marking the threshold between the mundane and the sacred, between water and earth, between reality and legend. Yet here, in the quiet depths of the forest, the Makara statue exists alone, with no sign of ritual, no footprints from ages past, only the forest wind and decaying leaves scattered around its base. Archaeologists found the Makara's body broken into pieces and strewn across the ground, its fierce face and jagged, sharp jaws still clearly visible on the moss-covered stone. They thoroughly examined the entire area, but found absolutely no evidence that any religious complex had ever existed here. This only deepened the mystery. Who carved the form of this sea monster, and why was it placed in such a remote and isolated location, far from every religious or cultural center of its time? Some theorize that the Makara statue may once have been part of an ancient lost ritual, or that it is the remnant of a small community that once lived here before vanishing into the endless forest. Others do not rule out the possibility that the statue was created as a sacred marker, a gathering place for hunting parties, or simply a site for communication between humans and the mysterious forces believed to dwell in the ancient jungle. Whatever the reason, the Makara statue continues to challenge the imagination and understanding of those who come after. Standing before this silent yet majestic work of art, people cannot help but reflect on the harmony between nature and legend, between the smallness of humankind and the vastness of the universe, a place where every ancient enigma becomes a reminder of the unfathomable depths of history and the enduring power of human imagination. The discovery of a new monkey species from a forgotten specimen in an American museum. Some mysteries of nature do not lie hidden deep in the jungle, but sleep quietly amid the heart of modern cities, behind the dust-covered walls and dim lights of grand museums. The story of the Cissus urubambus monkey is a vivid example of this. It is a journey that spans nearly a century, beginning not with daring expeditions, but with a forgotten drawer in the American Museum of Natural History. Nearly 100 years ago, an unknown naturalist brought back a small specimen from the deep forests of Peru, never suspecting that this creature belonged to an entirely new species. As time passed, the specimen was mislabeled and gradually forgotten among thousands of other artifacts, its secret lying dormant in every strand of fur and every bone. It was not until the early 21st century, during a review of old collections, that scientists happened upon the mysterious specimen and realized it was completely different from any known monkey species. To confirm their discovery, they began a journey backward through history, searching records, comparing morphology, and reaching out to field researchers in Peru. Remarkably, it was not long before an expedition team encountered this very small monkey in the humid Peruvian forests. A perfect match in physical features and DNA confirmed that this was indeed a species previously unknown to science. Cissus uru bambus. This discovery not only adds to the list of primate species in South America, but also sounds a clear warning about the importance of preserving pristine forests and the priceless value of museum collections, places where untold stories and unnamed secrets of nature still wait to be uncovered. The discovery of Cissus uru bambus has powerfully inspired the scientific community, urging researchers to look more carefully at old collections, where each specimen might be the key to an entirely new world. At the same time, it reminds us that the South American rainforest still harbors countless strange creatures yet to be discovered, and that only through patience, curiosity, and respect for nature can humanity gradually come to understand the mysterious wonders at the heart of our green planet. The ancient city atop a volcano in Mexico. Beneath the Mexican sky, among ranges of endless mountains, lies an ancient city known to very few. Socotel, a name almost faded from memory, stands steadfast atop the very summit of a volcano that once raged with fiery red lava. Surrounding the city are other volcanic peaks, each one carrying a latent threat, making this land feel as though it stands perpetually on the boundary between life and annihilation. Long ago, Socotel was not a place for people to gather, live, or build bustling communities. There were no busy markets or the laughter of children echoing through winding lanes. Instead, this place appeared as a secluded world, built solely for reverence and prayer. All the remaining traces reveal that this city was constructed to honor the goddess of flowers and fertility, a deity ancient people believed could bring abundant harvests and prosperity to a land forever shadowed by uncertainty. Atop the volcano, the skilled hands of the ancients created monumental megalithic works. First came the flower pyramid, where every ceremony was performed in an atmosphere of sacred mystery. Then appeared spiral-shaped buildings, moss-covered walls, and stone statues of gods, creating a space where time itself seemed to stand still. Unlike the bustling cities at the mountain's base, Socotel was reserved only for sacred and secret rituals. Yet, the past of Socotel remains veiled in mystery. No one can say with certainty who first created this city. Some researchers believe it may have been the Ala Shika Lanka, a culture once present in these lands, but all remain speculation. What's left are only faint traces of a community that once existed and then vanished without a trace, leaving behind unanswered questions. Then, without warning, disaster struck. A violent volcanic eruption forced everyone who remained to flee the city, abandoning its monumental structures and secrets still untold. For centuries afterward, Socotel lay silent, with only the sound of wind whistling through stone crevices and the faint scent of sulfur lingering in the air. As time passed, the city once again became a place of human gathering. But this time, the peace and reverence of old were gone. A new, more brutal culture claimed the volcanic summit, turning it into a center of dark and harrowing rituals. The flower pyramid of old became the site of child sacrifices, with haunting traces left behind. The statue of the goddess was flayed, its image representing one of the darkest and most terrifying deities known to mankind, still lying there as a testament to the city's haunting past. Perhaps what makes Socotel truly remarkable is not only its many layers of history or ancient legends, but the ever-present danger lurking all around. Even today, the volcano has not fallen completely silent. From time to time, a sudden tremor or a wisp of smoke rising from the crater reminds all who visit that life here is always temporary, and the fierce essence of nature is forever hidden beneath every human step. The city of the monkey god. Hidden deep within the dense jungles along the border between Honduras and Nicaragua, the legend of the city of the monkey god has fascinated and mystified generations. Local people tell that this city was once incredibly wealthy, but became cursed. A series of disasters struck, raging floods, sudden earthquakes, and nameless plagues, forcing the inhabitants to abandon their homes in panic, leaving behind all their riches and traces of a once thriving civilization. According to popular belief, it was the monkey god himself, a guardian spirit, both mysterious and powerful, who punished humanity for their greed and disrespect toward the sacred values of the ancient forest. For centuries, stories of the city of the monkey god existed only as legend, a distant dream for treasure hunters, explorers, or archaeologists. The Amazonian forest cloaked all traces, transforming the legendary city into a phantom wandering through human imagination. Many expeditions set out, but all failed against the unforgiving wilderness and the land's enduring mystery. It was not until the early 21st century that everything changed, thanks to extraordinary advances in science. A group of researchers led by Steve Elkins, determined to unravel the legend, employed LIDAR technology, a method of aerial laser scanning that could see through the dense forest canopy in hopes of finding any remaining traces. The results stunned the world. Amid the endless sea of green appeared distinct shapes, the outlines of foundations, roads, and structures thought to have been erased by time. It took 3 more years before the expedition team was finally able to set foot in the area believed to be the city of the monkey god. There, they found the foundations of buildings, stone slabs carved with monkey faces, jaguar statues, and countless ancient artifacts. Though most were buried beneath roots, mud, and the old-growth forest, everything exuded an air of mystery, challenging anyone who sought to decipher the secrets that remained. Here, legend and reality met, leaving the world not only a groundbreaking archaeological discovery, but also proof of the indomitable power of memory and human faith. The city of the monkey god still lies silent in the depths of the jungle, a reminder of lost values and unfinished stories waiting for the day they can be told. The city buried by a volcano. Hidden on the outskirts of bustling Mexico City, among ruins buried by the passage of time and the forces of nature, the ancient city of Cuicuilco remains one of the great enigmas of American history. This was once a thriving urban center of a civilization older than the Aztecs or the Maya, a city that led in agriculture, engineering, and social life, only to vanish suddenly beneath the violent ash and lava of a volcanic eruption, leaving behind little trace in the memory of mankind. Turning back the clock to around 250 AD, life in Cuicuilco flowed in prosperity. Verdant fields stretched as far as the eye could see. The city was teeming with people, and religious and ceremonial activities were held regularly in sturdy stone structures. But nature is always an irresistible force. On a fateful day, the volcano Xibalba erupted with terrifying power, covering the entire city in a layer of ash and lava as thick as 9 meters, transforming Cuicuilco into a Pompeii of Latin America. Everything was buried almost perfectly intact, as if time itself had stopped beneath the searing stone. For nearly 2 millennia, Cuicuilco was forgotten, lying quietly beneath the earth. At the beginning of the 20th century, modern archaeologists finally began a determined campaign to unearth the site, even resorting to explosives to break through layers of volcanic ash hardened to stone. The outcome of this endeavor astonished the scientific community. Among the gray rock, a unique round pyramid was revealed, unlike anything built by the Maya or Aztecs. This pyramid was constructed to worship a powerful fire deity, a religious symbol shrouded in mystery and intimately connected to the spiritual life of the city's inhabitants. Cuicuilco has not only puzzled archaeologists with the engineering of its round pyramid, but also holds countless unanswered questions about the true purpose and function of the surrounding structures and about the society and beliefs of those who once lived here. How advanced did they become? What technologies did they use to create such monumental works at the foot of a volcano? These mysteries remain unsolved, turning Cuicuilco into a captivating black box of Central American history, forever enchanting, intriguing, and inspiring those who love archaeology to uncover more about a city that once flourished, then vanished in a single, fateful moment of nature. The Roman god of volcanoes. In the world of Roman mythology, Vulcan is not only the god of fire, but also the lord of forging, of thunder and lightning, and of the volcanoes that smolder beneath the earth. Unlike many other deities, Vulcan's temple was not built in the center of Rome, but had to stand on the outskirts, separated from the city itself. The ancient Romans always carried with them a fear of the unpredictable power of fire and volcanoes, so they believed that keeping a safe distance from the fire god was the best way to protect the city from his wrath. Each year, when August arrived, the Romans held the Vulcanalia festival outside the city walls at Vulcan's secluded temple. On this day, fires were kept burning all night, and offerings were thrown into the flames, hoping the god would spare the city from great fires and protect the harvest. It was a moment when the entire community turned toward a force beyond human control, approaching it with both reverence and a plea for the fire god's mercy. The image of Vulcan is itself marked by the complexity of a god who endured tragedy. According to legend, Vulcan was the son of the goddess Juno and the god Jupiter. From an early age, he faced a cruel fate, cast down from heaven by his father for daring to defy Jupiter's will in order to protect his mother. That terrible fall left Vulcan deformed, setting him apart from the other gods. Yet it was from this pain that Vulcan found his strength. he built a great forge in the heart of a volcano, where, alongside the Cyclopes, he created the most powerful weapons and magical artifacts for both gods and mortals. On another occasion, Vulcan used his skill to take revenge on his mother Juno, who had turned her back on him after his fall. He crafted a magnificent golden throne and presented it to her as a gift. But when Juno sat upon it, the throne clamped shut, trapping her as a prisoner of the very gift her son had made. Only when the other gods pleaded with him did Vulcan relent and free his mother, in exchange for having his place restored on Olympus. Vulcan's story is not just a journey from suffering to power, it is also a testament to the intersection of fear and hope in the Roman psyche when facing disasters and the ever-present forces of nature. By worshipping Vulcan, the Romans not only sought protection, but also learned to face, master, and overcome the trials of fire and earth. It is an essential piece in the mosaic of the cultural and historical legacy of an empire that once stretched to the ends of the known world. The ancient stone temple on Gozo Island, Malta. On the picturesque island of Gozo in Malta, there stands a magnificent cluster of stone temples called Gantija, a silent witness to a civilization so ancient that it lies beyond any concept of history we have ever known. When the first rays of morning sunlight have yet to pierce the light mist, the massive stones of Gantija tower over the land, telling a story of humanity and faith from prehistoric times. Gantija is not only the oldest stone temple complex in the Maltese archipelago, but also the second oldest religious structure in the world, surpassed only by Göbekli Tepe. The ancients built stone walls nearly 7 meters high and 2.5 meters thick, stacking them without mortar or any kind of adhesive. Each stone weighs tens of tons, yet, remarkably, this monument was created before the invention of the wheel or the use of metal tools. All they had was stone, wood, ropes, and the strength drawn from a belief in something sacred, far beyond ordinary human reach. Archaeologists have determined that Gantija was constructed more than 5,500 years ago, at a time when most of humanity was still wandering for food in wild forests. The ancient people of Gozo transformed this place into a major ceremonial center, where they worshipped mother goddesses, performed animal sacrifices, and honored the power of the sun. Each morning, sunlight would shine through the entrance, filling the sacred space with light, as if to recall those mysterious festivals that no living soul remains to recount. To this day, the true origins of those who built Gantija remain a great mystery. Locals say that only giants with extraordinary strength could have raised such monuments, hence the name Gantia, which means belonging to the giants. Yet, whether legend or reality, the temple stands proud in the Mediterranean sea breeze, enduring through seasons of sun and rain, a memory turned to stone from an age when humans could only gaze at the sky and wonder about their existence in the vast universe. Today, anyone who sets foot on Gozo cannot help but be awed by Gantija. It is a place where mythology meets science, where unanswered mysteries inspire endless fascination for those passionate about the origins of humanity. Gantija quietly reminds us that, before the Great Pyramids or shining marble temples, there was once a time when people together created immortal wonders using nothing but faith, endurance, and their bare hands. The cursed sarcophagus of Egypt. Deep beneath the earth of Saqqara, one of the most sacred and expansive necropolises of ancient Egypt, archaeologists have unveiled a haunting mystery that had lain dormant in the shadows for thousands of years. Dark passageways led them to the temple of Queen Nerit, a woman who once held immense power at the side of King Theti, yet also became the victim of a brutal assassination that history seemed to have forever consigned to oblivion. It was here that they discovered not only a priceless treasure trove of the ancient world, but also came face to face with the lingering dread of those mysterious forces whispered about through generations. Hidden far underground, row upon row of wooden sarcophagi remained astonishingly intact, despite having weathered more than 3 millennia of history. Each coffin, painted with meticulous care and carved in elaborate detail, still shone with the vibrant hues of a bygone golden age. Inside, 52 mummies from the era of the New Kingdom lay in silence, each a silent witness to the secrets and eternal ambitions of a long-lost dynasty. The dust of centuries seemed unable to erase the vividness of the coffin paintings, just as it could not dispel the chill that crept through the hearts of modern explorers beholding these sacred relics for the first time. Most striking of all, in a place of honor at the heart of the temple, was a papyrus scroll stretching 13 feet in length. This was the famed Book of the Dead, inscribed with ancient script meant to guide the soul through countless perils in the afterlife. Every hand-drawn character on this papyrus echoed like a whisper from the distant past, instructing the departed on their journey through darkness toward the final shore of peace. These pages represent not only the Egyptians' profound faith in the world beyond, but also their yearning for immortality, and they stand as enduring evidence of the extraordinary civilization they once achieved. The sudden appearance of so many sarcophagi in one location quickly sparked waves of speculation. Local villagers, and even some scholars, could not hide a sense of unease when confronted with talk of the pharaoh's curse, a force that legend holds has, for centuries, waited to unleash misfortune, disease, and even death upon any who dare disturb the eternal slumber of royalty. While modern science has its own explanations, in the cold air of Saqqara, surrounded by dozens of mummies and the cryptic symbols covering every wall, it is difficult for anyone to shake the feeling that they are witnessing something forbidden, something the ancient world swore to protect at all costs. This discovery not only opened a gateway into the spiritual realm of ancient Egypt, but also raised questions that remain unanswered, blurring the lines between history, faith, and the mysteries that linger deep in humanity's collective memory. The closer we draw to the light of knowledge, the more we realize that the darkness of ancient enigmas still endures, undiminished in its power to fascinate and haunt us amid the endless sands of the desert. The lost indigenous settlement in Florida. On the pristine island of Big Talbot, a place that had been covered by forests and battered by the Atlantic waves for hundreds of years, archaeologists unexpectedly traced the faint remnants left behind by an indigenous community that has disappeared from history. These were the UKA people. Those who once lived, hunted, farmed, and left a deep imprint in northern Florida. But for nearly half a millennium, no one has known exactly where they ever existed. Only scattered notes from the French and Spanish once mentioned this community, describing a developed society with its own distinctive architecture and customs closely tied to a harsh natural world. The excavation on the island brought about a series of findings that left scientists amazed. Mixed in the earth were shards of Spanish pottery that were hundreds of years old, relics made of bone and stone, bright white shell fragments, and even blackened corn cobs, evidence of the daily meals of the ancient people. All of these artifacts together form a vivid picture of a culture that was both indigenous and clearly influenced by the early waves of migrants and European traders who first set foot in the Americas. The old historical records also describe types of longhouses roofed with bark or roundhouses built from palm branches, where families would gather together. The UKA people were famous for their skill in weaving, making clothes from deer hide and tree bark, and they were also highly skilled in hunting and fishing among the rivers and forests. Their life seemed peaceful, but in reality always had to face dangers from disease, war, territorial disputes with other tribes, and even the pressure of Western expeditions. Their fate gradually disappeared in the whirlpool of history, leaving behind ruins, artifacts, and questions with no answers. More than ever, archaeologists and historians today are pouring effort into studying and preserving even the smallest remnants of this settlement. They are not only searching for ancient structures, from house foundations to public works, but also hoping to unravel the mystery of the disappearance of a once vibrant community. Each artifact found is not only proof of the existence of a native Florida culture, but also a reminder of the fragility of human memory in the face of time and change. In the darkness of the old forest, where white sand meets wind and waves, ancient stories are still waiting to be told, so that modern people can once again listen to echoes from the distant past. The remains of an American fighter plane and pilot in Austria, amidst the dense forests of Austria, where the wind whispers through ancient trees as if recalling the painful memories of war, a remarkable discovery has touched the hearts of many. The wreckage of a P-38 fighter plane, along with traces of an American pilot who had been missing for more than 70 years. This is not only the journey to unravel a mystery from World War II, but also a story of hope and the unyielding perseverance of the families of soldiers who once made the ultimate sacrifice on foreign soil. For a long time, the relatives of pilot Henry Donald Mitchell had always carried a deep ache about the fate of the son, brother, or uncle who so many years ago was left behind somewhere in the cold expanse of Europe. Decades went by, and although there was information about the crashed aircraft, all attempts to reach the site were blocked by complicated legal procedures and the lack of cooperation from the landowner. It was only when the new owner became open to allowing an excavation that the search team was able to begin their quiet mission. The moment the experts first touched the decaying P-38 in the heart of the deep forest, the air fell silent with emotion. Each fragment of metal, every remaining personal belonging, seemed to recount the final moments of the young pilot who, with his plane, had plunged into the Austrian wilderness during a fierce battle. The discovery of human remains beside the wreckage rekindled new hope for the Mitchell family. offering one last chance to bring their loved one home, to finally close the pain and longing that had stretched on for more than half a century. The story of the missing fighter plane in Austria is not merely a piece of the history of World War, but stands as a testament to the power of memory, perseverance, and the profound meaning of coming home. Behind every fallen aircraft, every nameless fate lost to the horrors of war, there are always families quietly waiting, hoping that one day they may lay flowers on the graves of their loved ones, so that history and gratitude are never forgotten. The Dogon tribe and their knowledge beyond the ages. The land of Mali, lying quietly under the African sun, is home to the Dogon people, a community known not only for their villages perched along rocky cliffs, but also for a wealth of astronomical knowledge far ahead of its time. For generations, the Dogon have passed down stories about the stars, the universe, and the origins of humanity, truths that modern science only began to discover in the 20th century. What astonished scientists most was the Dogon's detailed understanding of the Sirius star system. In their tradition, Sirius is not just a bright star shining in the night sky, but a complex system with two companion stars orbiting one another. They call the hidden star beside Sirius Potolo, a tiny but incredibly heavy object that orbits Sirius in a period remarkably close to the value confirmed by modern astronomers only recently. Science only discovered Sirius B, this white dwarf star, using advanced telescopes at the end of the 19th century. Yet the Dogon had already spoken of it in their legends centuries before. Their repository of knowledge does not end there. The Dogon's wisdom extends to distant planets within our solar system. They knew of the 4 largest moons of Jupiter, could describe the brilliant rings around Saturn, and even spoke of the Milky Way's spiral structure, discoveries that modern civilization has only been able to confirm through powerful telescopes and advanced observational techniques. All of this has left researchers wondering, how could such an isolated community possess such vast knowledge of the cosmos? The Dogon themselves do not claim that this knowledge came naturally. According to their legends, their ancestors were once taught by cosmic teachers. They call these mysterious visitors the Nomo, beings that were half human, half fish, who descended to Earth in flying ships, bringing with them not only the secrets of the stars, but also knowledge about the workings of nature, society, and even human history. Yet, outside of these extraordinary tales, many scientists remain skeptical. Some believe that this knowledge may have resulted from later cultural exchanges, when Europeans brought telescopes and new understanding to West Africa. Others think that Western researchers may have mistranslated or exaggerated what the Dogon actually said. Despite numerous theories, no one has fully explained this mystery to this day. How could an ancient community have known secrets of the universe that took the rest of the world hundreds of years of research to verify? Perhaps, hidden within every ancient culture, there are greater mysteries than we imagine, and the universe still holds many secrets waiting to be discovered. The record, breaking long, tongued moth of Madagascar. Deep in the forests of Madagascar, where nature always conceals its strangest and most wondrous secrets, scientists have just confirmed the existence of a remarkable creature that, for over a century, existed only in the predictions of the genius Charles Darwin. The moth with a record-breaking long tongue, surpassing every limit of human imagination. The story of this creature begins in 1862, when Darwin observed the star orchid, a flower with a nectar tube so long and deep that it seemed impossible for any living thing to reach its base and drink the sweet nectar within. Guided by his intuition, Darwin predicted that somewhere in Madagascar there must exist an insect with an extraordinarily long tongue, capable of reaching all the way to the end of the flower's tube to enjoy every last drop. As time passed, Darwin's hypothesis was long dismissed as pure fantasy, until the early 20th century, when the first naturalists witnessed a moth flying through the Madagascar night, bearing a slender, coiled tongue nearly 30 centimeters long, many times longer than its own body. This was the long-tongued moth, a unique species that stands as living proof of the wonders of evolution and the brilliance of human insight. That tongue, nearly 3 handspans in length, is not only an extraordinary adaptation, but also creates a mysterious bond between moth and flower. With its thread-like, living tongue, the moth can delicately reach deep into the base of the star orchid, sipping nectar where all other insects fail. This perfect partnership not only ensures the survival of the moth, but also guarantees that the rare flower is pollinated, continuing to flourish and propagate in the heart of the forest. The discovery of the long-tongued moth is not only a testament to the power of scientific prediction, but also a symbol of the delicate connections between species in nature. Through his intellect, Darwin foresaw what it would take more than 100 years for humans to finally witness with their own eyes. And today, every time we look up at the moths fluttering in the moonlight over Madagascar, we are reminded that the world still holds countless wonders yet to be revealed, waiting for humanity to discover and marvel at in awe. Medicine far ahead of its time. Today, we think of hospitals as places filled with doctors and cutting-edge equipment, but in the ancient world, medicine was deeply intertwined with sacred temples, mystical rituals, and a belief in supernatural powers. In ancient Greece, the sick didn't just seek out physicians. They would often travel great distances to the tranquil temples of Asclepius, hoping for healing from the gods themselves. There, they prayed, bathed in crystal-clear springs, rested in quiet chambers, and sometimes brought votive offerings, models of body parts, to express their hopes for recovery. These temples were more than just places of treatment. They served as holistic centers, caring for both body and soul. In ancient Egypt, medicine flourished atop thousands of years of accumulated knowledge. Egyptians skillfully used herbs for healing, applied honey as a natural antiseptic, and understood how to stop bleeding and bandage wounds. Their physicians were adept at complex procedures, including setting bones, amputating limbs, and even crafting meticulous wooden legs and artificial toes. On rolls of papyrus, they recorded a wealth of remedies, treatment methods, and ways to tend to injuries. Even more astonishing, Egyptian doctors could diagnose conditions like diabetes and cancer at an early stage, revealing an incredible understanding of the human body. In ancient Mesopotamia, healers combined practical medicine with spiritual belief. When treating the ill, they prescribed medicines, but also performed exorcisms, convinced that sickness often stemmed from supernatural forces. Ancient medical texts from the region detail patient care and wound treatment, and highlight the vital role played by both physicians and sorcerers in the healing process. It was here that many of the world's earliest medical terms originated, laying the foundation for modern medicine. In Rome, medicine went beyond traditional remedies, advancing both in surgery and public health. Galen, one of history's most renowned physicians, performed some of the earliest eye surgeries and established strict rules for cleanliness in the operating room, measures that helped reduce infection. The Romans prioritized sanitation, constructing aqueducts for clean water and building public baths to prevent the spread of disease. Though each civilization developed its own unique approach, all blended science, religion, and magic in their medical practices. The healers of antiquity relied not only on knowledge and experience, but also placed their trust in the sacred, the miracles of nature, and secrets passed down through generations. This unique blend created a medical tradition that was both practical and mysterious, opening new horizons for the progress of medicine throughout human history. Scarred Mountain Inn. Hidden among the misty hills of Wales, Scarred Mountain Inn is not merely an ancient tavern, but also a silent witness to centuries of dark history stretching back nearly 1,000 years. Established in the 12th century, this inn is like a doorway to the past, where chilling tales are interwoven with an atmosphere so old and eerie it unsettles the soul. Every brick, every scratch in the wood, even the faint musty scent lingering in the air, carries memories of days filled with violence and mysteries that have never been fully revealed. For over 900 years, Scarred Mountain Inn has served as a stopping point for kings, warriors, and even restless spirits who refuse to leave this world behind. There was a time when this place was used as a courtroom, where trials took place in the cold room above the stairs. Many accused individuals received their death sentences right on the very threshold of what was once just a tavern. Travelers whisper that on some nights, the screams of tormented souls still echo in the corridors, and the sound of someone's footsteps quietly resonate in the darkness long after everyone has drifted off to sleep. Scarred Mountain Inn was also a gathering place for groups of witches and those who practiced esoteric magic. The marks of strange rituals remain like scars that cannot be erased from the thick stone walls. It is not uncommon for staff or guests to stumble upon unexplainable phenomena. The blurry silhouette of a woman gliding through the hallway, an icy wind sweeping in the middle of summer, a mysterious scent as if wafting from another world, or the soft laughter of someone not present in the realm of the living. Today, though draped in the trappings of modernity, with golden lights and cheerful conversation, Scarred Mountain Inn still retains its original atmosphere of mystery. Each evening, as dusk settles, the tavern seems to come alive with old memories. Shadowy forms flicker, and whispered tales of ghosts, executions, and witchcraft seem to fill the air with a thin fog of the past. Visitors are both curious and chilled as they listen to mysterious legends retold by the staff, no one can say when the boundary between truth and legend began to blur. Just one night spent at Scarred Mountain Inn is enough to understand why it remains on the list of the most haunted inns in Wales, a place where darkness and secrets never truly sleep. Healing wounds with maggots. Perhaps no one could ever imagine that one day, something regarded by most as a nightmare, those wriggling live maggots, would become the savior for an illness once thought to be beyond hope. Yet, that is precisely the miraculous story that happened to Pam Mitchell, an American woman who once stood on the brink of losing her entire foot due to a spreading infection resistant to every modern medical treatment. Doctors tried everything, from powerful antibiotics to recommending a bone marrow transplant, but nothing worked. It was at the very moment of deepest despair that Pam chose a therapy that sounded almost bizarre: live maggot therapy. Introduced by a dermatologist who specialized in unusual restorative techniques, this method had, in fact, been used in traditional medicine for centuries. 600 tiny maggots were placed directly into the deep wound, which was then sealed up for 2 days. Few can imagine what it would feel like to coexist with these tiny creatures as they moved about in one's own flesh, but that was when the miracle began. The maggots immediately got to work, consuming all the necrotic tissue, clearing away dead cells and secreting enzymes that stimulated the growth of healthy tissue. Each time the bandage was removed, doctors were amazed to find that the wound was not only failing to spread, but was instead clean, pink, and steadily shrinking. After 10 continuous treatments, Pam's wound had completely healed. There was no longer any sign of infection, and the new tissue was growing more robustly than any topical medication could have achieved. The effectiveness of this method made the entire team of doctors and cosmetic surgeons begin to reconsider the role of these once feared natural remedies. Today, maggot therapy is being studied more widely and is starting to be applied in complicated infections where modern medicine has reached its limits. Pam's story is not just a medical miracle, but also a reminder of the extraordinary power of nature, of humanity's ability to heal and adapt when the line between despair and hope comes down to a single bold choice. These maggots have now become a symbol of life and faith in the hidden wonders that still exist all around us. Sacred chickens of the ancients. From the pages of ancient history to the present day, the image of the chicken has become so familiar in human life that it is almost taken for granted. Yet few realize that thousands of years ago, our ancestors in Europe viewed chickens with a meaning completely different from today. Far from being a mere source of food or simply a domestic animal, chickens were once revered as sacred beings, holding a central place in ritual ceremonies and even in battles. Archaeological discoveries at prehistoric sites in England and from the Roman period show that many chicken skeletons were buried intact, as if they were members of the family, not just offerings or food. When researchers analyzed the lifespan of these remains, they found that ancient chickens lived far longer than their modern counterparts, with some individuals reaching up to 4 years old, a rarity for chickens raised today. This indicates that, in the eyes of the ancients, chickens were not meant for slaughter, but were kept, cared for, and used for sacred purposes. Through both written records and archaeological evidence, it has been discovered that chickens often appeared in religious ceremonies, in rituals for seeking peace, or to divine omens through their behavior. In certain periods, chickens were even trained to participate in bloody battles, not for entertainment, but to select the strongest individual, symbolizing power and the protection of the gods. These cockfights were considered sacred and became obligatory rituals in major community festivals. The discovery of chicken graves, where each bird was buried with the same solemnity as a family member, highlights even more the importance of this animal in the spiritual world of the ancients. The chicken skeletons were all intact, bearing no marks of slaughter or use as food, proving that they were treated with absolute respect. Many scientists believe that chickens once symbolized the intersection between the worlds of the living and the dead, seen as a bridge between humans and the divine. Even in ancient Roman times, this belief persisted. Chickens were used in important divination rituals, such as the prophetic chicken ceremonies officials employed to determine the fate of battles or predict major events. The Romans believed that by watching how chickens pecked at grain, the gods would send mysterious messages foretelling the future. Looking back at the journey of chickens through history, we see not only a long-standing bond between humans and animals, but also feel the depth of beliefs and the yearning for protection from the supernatural world of our ancestors. The image of chickens carefully buried, living long lives beside people, serves as a reflection of a mysterious spiritual world, where the line between daily life and legend seems to blur. The ghost town of Indian Ridge. In the outskirts of Missouri, not far from the picturesque waters of Table Rock Lake, a strange scene emerges amid the wild grass and somber limestone ruins. The ghost town of Indian Ridge, a place that was once expected to become the most luxurious resort in the American Midwest. Today, this landscape has become a haunting fascination for anyone curious about the mysteries of the modern world. Indian Ridge was once an ambitious project with millions of dollars poured into its construction. The blueprints promised a dazzling complex of villas, shopping centers, a golf course, a marina, and luxury hotels along the lakeside. Yet everything came to an abrupt halt when the economic crisis of 2008 struck, bringing a cascade of financial and environmental scandals whose consequences still linger to this day. The unfinished mansions, most still incomplete or abandoned, stand with shattered windows, overgrown paths, and wild weeds, creating a space that is both desolate and strangely enchanting. But the waste is only part of the story. This ghost town stands as a vivid testament to the darker side of human greed. The two main companies responsible for developing the project were found guilty of serious violations of environmental protection laws and were also involved in large-scale bank fraud. 5 individuals were sent to prison for fraud and money laundering. The remnants of concrete scattered across the landscape now serve as a reminder of the true value of honesty and responsibility. What turned Indian Ridge into legend, however, came from social media. A short video posted by a TikTok user quickly went viral across America, attracting millions of views in just a few days. Images of deserted mansions standing alone amid lush scenery, lavish houses that were never inhabited, all paint the portrait of a parallel world where time has been forever frozen. Viewers cannot help but feel both curious and unsettled when considering the fate of those who once dreamed of living in this paradise, only to see everything reduced to ruins and faded memories. Indian Ridge is no longer a symbol of wealth, but rather a profound warning about true values and the dark side of uncontrolled ambition. In the shadows of unfinished walls, the past still echoes quietly, reminding us of the fragile line between dreams and disaster, between light and the mysteries that have never been solved. The abandoned village with a gruesome secret. Lying quietly at the edge of the shadowy forests in northern Yorkshire, the village of Percy today is little more than a faint trace on the map of England. The thatched cottages and the laughter of children are long gone. All that remains are the ruins of a crumbling church, 2 ancient manor houses, and a handful of overgrown foundations. Yet beneath that somber earth, archaeologists uncovered a gruesome secret that sent a chill around the world. A mass grave containing over 100 skeletons, all bearing signs of dismemberment, decapitation, and, in many cases, even being burned. During excavation, the bones were found in disarray. Many skulls separated from their bodies, arm and leg bones scattered, each marked with sharp cuts as if subjected to a brutal ritual. The slashes and chops scored into 137 bone fragments tell a blood-soaked story from the Middle Ages. This was not the aftermath of war, nor the result of sudden violence, but the outcome of a horrifying belief deeply rooted in the minds of the people of that time. Experts from historic England and the University of Southampton worked together to unravel the mystery. The residents of Percy were once haunted by the terror that the dead might rise from their graves to spread disease. In the foggy worldview of the Middle Ages, where plague, malaria, and inexplicable illnesses constantly devastated villages, death was not simply the end. It was believed that some corpses could not rest, that they would become revenants, ghastly beings capable of returning to attack their relatives and sow disease everywhere. To prevent this, bodies were cut apart, decapitated, burned, and buried deep underground, in the hope that their souls could never come back to trouble the living. That scene reflects a time when the line between belief and fear was dangerously thin, when blind faith could drive people to commit the most brutal acts against their own kind. In the icy cold of the 16th century, Percy suddenly turned into a ghost village as its entire population vanished overnight, leaving behind mysteries that would take hundreds of years for future generations to slowly uncover. Today, standing among the mossy walls, we see not only desolation, but also feel the haunting legacy of an era that lived in the shadow of ignorance. The mass graves, the scattered remains, serve as a stark reminder of the unpredictable power of belief. It can offer protection, or it can push people into the abyss of fear and cruelty. Percy is not just the remnants of a forgotten countryside, but a vivid testament to the dark side of medieval faith, where gruesome secrets still lie silently beneath the cold earth, waiting for the day when someone brave enough dares to listen. Child sacrifice in ancient Bulgaria. Amid the ancient fields of Bulgaria, where the earth has witnessed countless rises and falls of history, archaeologists have uncovered one of the most brutal rituals of prehistory, the sacrifice of children, which took place more than 6,000 years ago. As the excavation team carefully peeled back each layer of soil, a ceremonial pit appeared, within which lay the remains of 3 small children, resting quietly among carefully placed stones and fragments of broken pottery, each detail evoking a sense of a mysterious ancient world and its chilling beliefs. The artifacts found here reveal that this once was a bustling settlement, with clay-roofed houses and traces of an early community's daily life. But over everything hung the sign of disaster. The village floor was burned, ash covering buildings where people once lived. Scientists have determined that it was the outbreak of fire, possibly from an external attack or some other calamity, that pushed this community into a dark moment, leading them to heartbreaking rituals of sacrifice in a desperate plea for divine relief. Beyond physical evidence, the burial pit is steeped in ritual. Stones were carefully arranged around the bodies. Ceramic items were placed nearby as offerings to unseen powers. The 3 children may have been offered as sacrifices in an ancient rite to ask for abundant harvests, peace, or to drive away evil omens. Every bone, every stone, every trace of ash conjures the image of a community gripped by fear, yet yearning for protection in the chaotic world of their time. This discovery not only adds to our understanding of ancient life in Eastern Europe, but also stands as a profound reminder of the tragic limits of faith and belief when faced with disaster, war, or fate's twists. 3 small children, together with simple offerings, have lain silent in the earth for thousands of years, telling a sorrowful story of the longing for survival and the haunting shadow of divine power that shaped our ancestors. The headless figure photograph in a secret room in America. In the old houses of America, sometimes the strangest things are hidden discreetly behind walls coated with the dust of time. This is the story of a young couple who accidentally discovered a secret room buried deep within the home they had just purchased. Concealed behind old brick walls, this small room was like a Pandora's box, opening up a series of bizarre and haunting mysteries. The first thing that caught their eye was an old black and white photograph. A young boy sitting in a toy car, with the shadowy figure of a man standing silently behind him, but with his face completely vanished, leaving only a headless body. While many people believe this is just a photographic exposure error typical of early photography, an undeniable chill filled the air. It was as if the man had deliberately hidden his face from the world, or perhaps some ghostly presence from the distant past still haunted this place. But that was only the beginning. The couple continued to find strange items hidden away, an unopened Christmas present, student cards from a now-defunct school, and a series of handwritten letters in fading ink, including one chilling note containing only a single sentence. "I will leave, and no one will ever hear from me again." Each item contained a fragment of memory, an unfinished story of those who once lived in this house, making every corner feel at once familiar and eerily unfamiliar. Not wishing to let the past fade into oblivion, the new owners began their journey to uncover the identity of the previous residents. They combed through census data, scoured records, hoping to find connections among the old photos, the present, and the mysterious letters. This process was not just a search for a name, but a journey to listen to the echoes of time, where every memory might become a riddle that makes us ponder forever the true meaning of home. The story of the secret room and the headless photograph quickly became a topic of fascination on social media, serving as a reminder that sometimes the places we consider safest are the ones hiding the greatest secrets. Who was the real owner of those dark letters, the Christmas present, and that eerie photograph? And why was everything left behind for so many years in the silent darkness of this forgotten room? The answer is still waiting somewhere ahead, where human curiosity and the urge to discover always prove stronger than any curse of the past. The ancient cake. Deep within the crumbling cellar of an old building in the city of Lek, archaeologists stumbled upon something that seemed almost impossible to have survived nearly 8 decades, a perfectly preserved hazelnut cake still bearing its original decorative icing. In 1942, as British bombers unleashed a devastating air raid that would ultimately destroy much of the city, a local baker had carefully wrapped the cake in wax paper and placed it in the cellar, hoping to keep it fresh a little longer. No one could have predicted that. Only hours later, bombs would reduce the entire house to rubble, burying the cake beneath the earth, where it would remain untouched through the many upheavals of history. When the cake was finally unearthed, it had shrunk to just 1/3 of its original size, yet the layers of icing and the intricate decorative patterns on its surface were still clearly visible. Though no one dared to taste it, The cake preserved the story of a time of brutal war, when even the simplest of things could become silent witnesses to survival. Under the scorching destruction of war, that humble hazelnut cake had been transformed into a strange kind of relic, a memory frozen in time, reminding us of loss, resilience, and the small, ordinary things that can sometimes endure the harshest currents of history. The Doomsday Message. While renovating a 150-year-old house in England, the new owner stumbled upon something truly strange behind a layer of old wallpaper. Hidden deep within the wall, a chilling message suddenly appeared. Scrawled in shaky handwriting were the words, "The 10th of September, Doomsday." What made the discovery even more unsettling was that this date happened to be the owner's own birthday, casting an uncanny, uneasy shadow over the entire house. The owner admitted she wasn't easily spooked by dark cellars or dusty attics, but this cryptic message made her stop and think. Driven by curiosity, she scoured every piece of local history and all available records for any event that might have taken place on the 10th of September, searching for a connection to Doomsday or anything unusual. Yet she found absolutely nothing. No reference to disaster, no record of tragedy, nothing that could explain the ominous warning. This only deepened the mystery surrounding the house. Was it simply a prank left behind by someone who once lived there, or was it a genuine warning sent from the past? Some have even speculated that a previous resident may have experienced a strange premonition, or perhaps carried a secret obsession with a long-forgotten event. Like so many curious messages unearthed from the walls of old houses, the riddle of the Doomsday Message remains unsolved. The story quickly spread, sparking the imagination and fascination of all those drawn to the forgotten mysteries that time leaves behind. The history of human evolution. For millions of years, the history of human evolution has been a journey full of surprises, marked by countless branches and mysteries that remain unsolved even today. As we look back at the ancient traces left deep within the earth, the portrait of our distant ancestors gradually emerges in vivid detail. From the first tentative steps of Australopithecus more than 3 million years ago to the rise of Homo sapiens, this journey is not just a story of survival, but also a testament to human intelligence, creativity, and extraordinary adaptability. Australopithecus, our oldest known ancestor, was small in stature with a modest brain and an upright gait, but they ushered in a new era by beginning to use simple stone tools. They were followed by Homo habilis, the handyman, who possessed a larger brain and more dexterous hands. These early humans crafted finer tools and made use of a wider variety of food sources, achieving a significant leap forward on the evolutionary path. With the appearance of Homo erectus, the human form became even closer to our own. They learned to control fire, build shelters, and migrate across vast territories, expanding their range from Africa all the way to Asia and Europe. The deeper scientists delve into history, the more they discover that different human species once coexisted. Neanderthals, known for their robust builds and highly developed brains, fashioned sophisticated tools, organized large-scale hunts, and even buried their dead or created simple jewelry, early signs of spiritual and artistic life. At the same time, the Denisovans in Siberia left behind only small fragments of bone and mysterious DNA. On the distant island of Flores in Indonesia, Homo floresiensis, the hobbit, stood barely over a meter tall, yet survived until surprisingly recent times. One of the most intriguing mysteries is the dramatic expansion of the human brain. How did our ancestors evolve from brains just a few hundred cubic centimeters in size to the powerful organ we have today? Many theories have been proposed. Perhaps eating more meat provided vital energy, or the invention of tools and art stimulated intellectual growth. Each new archaeological discovery sheds light on the social life, diet, cultural practices, communication skills, and hunting methods of these early humans. What makes the story of evolution even more complex is that ancient human species did not exist in a simple linear progression. For long periods, several species coexisted, competed, and even interbred with one another. Genetic evidence reveals that Homo sapiens, Neanderthals, and Denisovans exchanged genes, giving rise to hybrid generations with traits from both lineages. Yet, over time, most ancient human species vanished, leaving only a single branch to survive and spread across the globe, Homo sapiens. Some researchers believe that the expansion of modern humans may have pushed other species toward extinction, whether through competition for resources or direct conflict. Even when we think the human family tree is complete, new discoveries continue to rewrite our understanding. Recently, the discovery of the Homo longi skull in China sparked intense debate about the relationships between ancient humans and modern people. With features distinct from previously known specimens, this skull raises new questions about how many secrets about our origins and development are still hidden beneath the earth. Looking at this unfolding picture, we see that our history is a long chain of survival, creativity, and relentless adaptation. A reminder that the story of human origins is always more complex and wondrous than we imagine. The Great Ant City. Beneath the soil of Brazil, scientists made a stunning discovery: a vast underground city, not built by human hands, but constructed by ants. What left everyone astounded was the sheer scale and complexity of this structure, far beyond anything anyone thought such tiny insects could achieve. To truly grasp what this subterranean metropolis looked like, researchers embarked on an unprecedented experiment. They poured truckload after truckload of cement into the ants' tunnel system, allowing the cement to harden before beginning the painstaking process of excavation, a project that lasted for weeks. As layer after layer of earth was removed, a complete map of the underground city slowly emerged before their eyes. This was no random network of tunnels or a few scattered chambers. Instead, the ants' creation was a fully organized underground network, featuring grand boulevards, branching side streets, numerous chambers large and small, cultivated fungus gardens, and a sophisticated ventilation system, arranged with a level of ingenuity that seemed to rival the work of a master architect. The scale of the ant city was nothing short of extraordinary. The entire complex spanned more than 150 square meters and plunged over 7 meters deep into the earth. By one estimate, to build this underground wonder, the colony had to move more than 40 tons of soil to the surface, a monumental feat for creatures so small. The overall structure has been likened to the Great Wall of the Ants, not only because of its size, but for the intelligence and forethought evident in its design. Each functional chamber was connected by spacious highways, with side routes leading to specific areas for storage, shelter, and mushroom cultivation. Even more impressive, the system included ventilation shafts that kept fresh air circulating throughout the city, ensuring the survival and prosperity of millions of ants. This construction stands as powerful evidence of the ants' extraordinary ability for cooperation and collective labor, raising profound questions about the limits of creativity in the natural world. In terms of social organization, engineering skill, and efficiency, ants truly are some of the greatest architects on Earth, worthy of being models for the underground structures that humanity has only dreamed of building. Plague Mask. During the Middle Ages in Europe, as the shadow of the plague loomed over cities both large and small, the sight of doctors clad in bizarre protective garb became a haunting symbol for both the sick and the healthy. These outfits were designed not only to ward off disease, but also came to embody one of the most terrifying chapters in the history of medicine. The physicians wore long, black robes that swept the ground, broad-brimmed hats, and were covered almost head to toe. Most striking of all was the bird-like mask with its gleaming round glass eyes. This mask was fashioned with a long, protruding beak, stuffed with cotton, soaked in vinegar, herbs, or pungent aromatic substances, based on the belief that it could filter out the poisoned air thought to spread disease. Whenever doctors approached patients, they maintained a strict distance, never coming too close. Instead, they used a long wooden stick to examine, instruct, or even open mouths and take pulses, always avoiding direct contact with the afflicted. Beneath what appeared to be an impenetrable layer of protection, understanding of disease was still very limited. Yet, the image of the plague doctor's outfit and the beaked mask has become unforgettable, a testament to humanity's desperate struggle for survival in the face of a death that swept unseen across all of Europe. The Viking fortress of Jomsborg. Along the cold, windswept coastlines of the Baltic Sea, shrouded in the mists of time and legend, there once stood a Viking stronghold known to later generations as Jomsborg. For centuries, the story of Jomsborg has quietly endured as an essential thread in the tapestry of Norse mythology. It was not only the home of legendary Viking warriors, but also a bustling hub of trade, a city where the flow of goods, gold, and tales of adventure seemed endless. Yet, despite the reverence found in ancient chronicles, the true location of Jomsborg has long been lost to the sands of time. For centuries, archaeologists and historians have scoured the Baltic coast in search of the fortress, but all that remained were tantalizing theories and unconfirmed guesses. They followed every legend, every ancient record, hoping to unearth some definitive proof of the place, often described as the New York of the Viking Age. At last, it seemed fate smiled on those who persisted. During a construction project on a hill ominously named Hangman Hill, a place steeped in stories of executions, sacrifices, and age-old mysteries, archaeologists made a startling discovery: the remains of an ancient foundation, bearing unmistakable marks of a fortress that had once stood for 1,000 years or more. Charred timber and scattered relics all pointed to one extraordinary clue. Jomsborg may indeed have stood here, amid the chill winds and roaring Baltic waves. Jomsborg was more than just a military bastion. It became a crossroads for German and Slavic merchants alike, a place where cultures mingled to create a vibrant, cosmopolitan city. Within its fortified walls, the Joms Vikings, the elite warriors of the Viking world, trained relentlessly, ever ready to set sail and carve new legends in the bloody battles that raged across Europe. These men were celebrated as the Navy SEALs of their time, renowned for their courage, iron discipline, and unbreakable spirit. Yet, the truth about Jomsborg has always remained elusive. Throughout the 20th century, its name was even co-opted for political purposes. Under the Nazis, nationalists tried to claim Jomsborg as the epicenter of a pure Nordic race. After World War II, nations like Poland continued to excavate the site, eager to assert historical claims to Viking heritage. These ambitions and debates only added layers of complexity to the mystery, leaving Jomsborg swathed in a fog that refused to lift. Today, illuminated by the findings of modern archaeology, Jomsborg is no longer just a legend. The traces left on Hangman Hill, charred wood, ancient artifacts, and the faint outline of long-lost walls all suggest that this was once a dazzling center of Viking civilization. Though shadows and unanswered questions remain, Jomsborg has begun to step out of the legendary gloom, standing as vivid proof of the richness and complexity of Viking culture, a culture far deeper than golden beards, horned helmets, and raids, but one that also tells stories of trade, power, and the unending Viking dream to conquer the seas. The continent of Loria. Some stories begin with nothing more than a small question, only to gradually become legends that endure in the imagination of humanity. Loria is a classic example of this strange journey, beginning in the laboratory, spreading into myth, and ultimately taking root in popular culture for more than a century. In 1858, during a time when science was still full of limitations, Philip Sclater, a British zoologist, made a mysterious discovery. The fossils of lemurs, small primates native to Madagascar, were also found in distant India. This raised a puzzling question about the origin and movement of species across vast oceans that no one had yet explained. Confronted with this mystery, Sclater boldly envisioned a lost continent connecting India with Madagascar, and he named this imagined land Loria. At first, Loria was nothing more than a scientific hypothesis, but what happened afterward surpassed anyone's wildest imagination. By the end of the 19th century, as uncharted territories on the world map began to disappear, people started yearning for new mysteries. They were not only fascinated by the search for unexplored lands, but also willing to believe tales of ancient civilizations that had sunk into the sea or been wiped from the earth. Loria became the seed for a host of legends, the lost cradle of humanity, the birthplace of strange and extraordinarily wise races who vanished, leaving only faint traces in myth. At the end of the 19th century, mystics such as Helena Blavatsky and Charles Leadbeater further fueled the public's imagination about Loria. They described the inhabitants of Loria as giants, up to 15 feet tall, with flat faces, who laid eggs and even lived in underground cities or within mysterious mountains. These images grew ever more fantastical, blending science, religion, and mysticism. Many stories claimed the people of Loria had survived cataclysms and then migrated to places like Mount Shasta in California, building radiant crystal cities that appeared and vanished in the mists of modern American legends. By the early 20th century, Loria donned a new guise when the writer James Churchward renamed it Mu and moved it out into the Pacific Ocean. In the eyes of many, Mu became a mythical continent, the center of all ancient civilizations, and even the origin of supernatural and mysterious knowledge. However, the light of science eventually arrived. When the theory of plate tectonics and continental drift was confirmed in the 1960s, the foundation for the Loria hypothesis completely collapsed. Science proved that Madagascar and India were indeed once joined, but not by any mysterious continent. They simply belonged to the ancient supercontinent Gondwana before breaking apart as they are today. Although rejected by science, Loria and the strange tales surrounding it has endured stubbornly in imagination and popular culture. For many, Loria is not just an outdated hypothesis, but a symbol of the desire to conquer the unknown, of the belief that beneath the world's familiar surface, there are still countless unnamed lands, where even the most fantastical stories might be closer to the truth than we realize. Chicken dinosaur. In the memories of many, the T-Rex is the embodiment of ferocity and power, with its massive jaws and a stature that terrified every creature in its path. Yet, few would suspect that this legendary lineage began with a humble creature, scarcely larger than the rooster in a backyard garden. This is the fossil of a tiny dinosaur named Pendra milner, recently discovered by archaeologists in Wales, and it has taken the scientific world by surprise. Pendra milner lived between 200 and 215 million years ago, appearing long before the T-Rex would come to dominate the Cretaceous period. Measuring just over half a meter in length and armed with sharp claws, Pendra milner resembled a nimble reptile, specialized in hunting small prey in prehistoric forests. What is remarkable is that, despite its small size, this creature already possessed genetic traits later passed down to its famous descendant: sharp, pointed teeth, powerful claws, and well-developed leg bones that enabled swift movement when stalking its quarry. This discovery sheds new light on a chapter in the evolutionary history of carnivorous dinosaurs. It proves that the ancestors of colossal monsters, like the T-Rex, actually began as small creatures, evolving over millions of years to adapt to changing environments and fierce competition for survival. Over time, these generations of dinosaurs continuously grew in size, strength, and hunting prowess, eventually becoming the giants that ruled the prehistoric world. The story of the chicken dinosaur not only offers a new perspective on the origins of the T-Rex, but also reminds us that, in nature, even the mightiest beings had humble beginnings. These discoveries continue to help scientists piece together the missing fragments in the mysterious evolutionary journey of dinosaurs, a saga that spanned hundreds of millions of years on Earth. Hoia Baciu Forest. If there is any place on Earth that can send a shiver down your spine with just a single glance, the Hoia Baciu Forest in Romania would surely be at the top of the list. Lying quietly on the edge of the city of Cluj-Napoca, this forest has long haunted both local residents and those drawn to the world's mysteries. In the light of day, Hoia Baciu is simply an ordinary forest, with narrow dirt paths winding beneath twisted tree branches that seem to whisper among themselves. Yet, when night falls, the place transforms into another world, where every sense of safety fades away, replaced by an invisible fear creeping into every breath. Hoia Baciu Forest is world famous for countless supernatural phenomena, passed down through generations. From stories of people vanishing without a trace, and moments when time itself seems to vanish from memory, to instances of strange lights floating between the trees, all these have contributed to turning this forest into the Bermuda Triangle of Romania. Some say that just a few minutes inside the woods is enough to make wristwatches run strangely, memories become hazy, and an overwhelming sense of dread lingers long after leaving. Many witnesses have claimed to see unidentified flying objects flickering in the night, or shadowy figures gliding silently between the trees. Others speak of the sensation of being watched, of unnatural cold clinging to them, or of faint whispers rising from deep beneath the ground. These tales are not just idle rumors, but have also been recorded by researchers, making Hoia Baciu a destination for documentary film crews from around the world who investigate supernatural phenomena. No matter how people try to explain these events with scientific theories, whether it's unusual magnetic fields or psychological effects, Hoia Baciu Forest still maintains its enigmatic veil, making anyone who enters tread carefully. If by day it is a peaceful place for a stroll amid greenery and gentle sunlight, by night, every step becomes a journey into a world of inexplicable mysteries. Perhaps that is why this forest continues to attract explorers, dreamers, and those brave enough to reach for the boundary between reality and the unknown. Charleville Castle, hidden deep among ancient oak woods, where the wind rustles through the leaves like the whispers of time, Charleville Castle rises in solemn grandeur as a rare symbol of exquisite Gothic architecture left on Irish soil. Each grey stone, shrouded in moss, every soaring arched window, and the winding, silent corridors evoke the feeling of stepping into the pages of a shadowy fairy tale. But Charleville is famed not only for its stately beauty, but also for the mysterious tales surrounding the spirit of a young girl, Harriet. It is said that in 1861, Harriet, the youngest daughter of the castle's third Earl, suffered a tragic accident on the grand staircase at the tender age of just 8. Since then, the castle has become a gathering place for chilling stories, where the apparition of the little girl, with her golden hair and a blue ribbon on her dress, is said to appear, shimmering faintly in the morning light or flickering at the end of a quiet hallway. Many guests who have spent the night at Charleville recount the sensation of a strange cold breeze brushing against their skin, the sound of children's laughter echoing through the stillness, and some even claim to have glimpsed a small figure in a blue and white dress darting past a window. Sometimes it is no more than a gentle song, or the patter of footsteps on the old wooden floor, all adding to the already mysterious atmosphere that pervades the castle. Perhaps it is Harriet's ghostly presence that lends Charleville its poignant and indescribable beauty. Here, every stone, every carpet, every moss-covered wall holds traces of the past, along with the story of a child's soul unwilling to leave the place she once called home. Today, Charleville Castle draws not only lovers of history and architecture, but also countless seekers hungry to explore the boundary between reality and the unexplainable. Perhaps, deep within the cold, ancient forest, in the shimmering candlelight of late night, the spirit of little Harriet still silently watches over every guest, quietly continuing the endless story of longing for home and the unbreakable bond to the place she once called her own. The land of fairies and ancient legends. Hidden among the mist-shrouded hills and endless green meadows of Galloway lies a place whose very name can stir the heart of any Irish person. This is Nakma Hill. Not just an ordinary hill, Nakma is like a doorway that opens into the magical world of myth and memory. At its summit stand 3 ancient stone cairns, silent witnesses that have endured for thousands of years, bearing the imprint of invisible royal dynasties and powerful warrior queens. It is believed that beneath those stacked stones lies the resting place of the greatest king among the fairies, King Finvera, and also the celebrated queens of legend, such as Maeve, who once faced the heroes of this land in battles remembered through history. There are also stories of Kesser, the first woman to set foot on Irish soil, granddaughter of Noah, who was denied a place on the rescue ark and ultimately came to Nakma to seek refuge from humanity's great flood. Encircling Nakma is a dense web of mysterious folk tales, where the boundary between reality and dream is as thin as a cold breath of wind. In the memory of the people, on foggy nights, stories are whispered about fierce battles fought by fairy armies in the skies above Nakma Hill. Anyone perceptive enough, wandering along the slopes in the late afternoon, might feel a gentle warmth, believed to be a sign that a kindly fairy is watching over them. But if a sudden chill creeps up the spine, it is a warning. Perhaps you have just passed by a wandering spirit or a fairy with less benevolent intentions. Even those who do not believe in fairies and spirits often feel uneasy after hearing stories of strange disappearances, of people drawn into the fairy realm never to return. There are legends of girls, and even noble ladies from the landowning families who were taken deep into the heart of the hill by the fairies. Their loved ones had to dig through earth and stone to rescue them, but even if they returned, those people were never quite the same, living in a trance-like state for a year and a day, until the enchanted belt bestowed by King Finvera himself was finally removed. Nakma is not only a land of strange and thrilling legends, it is also where the ancient Irish belief in the other world is rooted. A place where souls might lose their way, where doors to the realm of fairies, kings, and heroes open during sacred moments. In olden times, it was believed that those who died of illness, especially wasting disease, did not truly perish, but were simply taken by the fairies to another world, leaving only an empty shell behind. In that space, reality and dreams are intertwined, and death becomes less frightening because of the hope of living forever, feasting and dancing alongside the fairies. Nakma Hill is more than a place on the map. It is a silent witness to generations of Irish people who have believed in the magic behind the veil of mist. In every stone, in every blade of grass, there are stories that have never been fully told. And whenever dusk settles, travelers who pass by Nakma often linger for a long while, listening to the wind whispering through the grass, hoping that one day they might catch a glimpse of the doorway into the land of immortal kings and fairies. The oldest Maya divination calendar in Guatemala. Hidden deep within the dense jungles of Guatemala, archaeologists have uncovered a spiritual treasure few could have imagined would survive the passage of millennia. These are the fragments of a mysterious mural, bearing the marks of the oldest known divination calendar of the Maya, a legacy more than 2,200 years old, carrying layers of meaning about the knowledge, beliefs, and identity of a great civilization. These calendar fragments are not large, merely 2 small remnants of what was once an elaborately decorated mural inside the sacred structures of the ancient Maya. Though weathered by the tides of time, they still possess the power to tell the story of a society forever yearning to understand the universe, of how people connected with the gods, predicted the future, and marked the ceaseless movements of heaven and earth. When the 2 fragments are pieced together, experts have identified the symbol 7 deer, one of the signature emblems of the Maya calendar system, representing a special day within their 260-day divinatory cycle. The image of the deer is vividly rendered, with the number 7 inscribed beneath it, revealing that this was not simply a point in time, but a message of faith in fate, fortune, and the cycles of all things. What is remarkable is that the Maya used the calendar not merely to record dates, but as a kind of divinatory book, guiding rituals, predicting harvests, and marking life's most important events. This cycle was deeply intertwined with their beliefs. From planting and building to choosing wedding days, every major decision was connected to the pronouncements of the calendar. Discovered at San Bartolo, once a major Maya city, these calendar fragments prove that the Mayas' methods of recording time and divination had reached extraordinary heights early on. Even before the rise of grand temples like Tikal or Palenque, they provide not only evidence of mathematical and astronomical skill, but also open a window into the rich spiritual world of the Maya. Today, Maya communities in Guatemala still preserve the tradition of using the divination calendar as a way to connect with their ancestors, to maintain their identity, and to foster a sense of national pride. Though these ancient mural fragments are now only remnants, their vitality endures as a whisper from the past, reminding humanity of a civilization that once mastered the art of prophecy and the philosophy of time's eternal cycle. The mysterious city in Sumatra. In the memory of those who love exploration, the name Alfred Isaac Middleton will forever remain an enigma. Living at the end of the 19th century, he was not an ordinary explorer. Middleton seemed born to venture into places where maps dissolved into imagination and jungles still hid secrets never before revealed. His obsession was the ancient city of Dalu, a living legend in the midst of Sumatra's tropical forests, a place where each step felt like crossing the border between reality and a dream. From the bustling streets of London, Middleton left everything behind to wander eastward. No one knows for sure where the story of Dalu began. Perhaps it was just a tale passed by word of mouth, or maybe a single line written in an old, rain-soaked journal. But for Middleton, Dalu was destiny. He believed that somewhere in the wet, misty haze, among giant trees with tangled roots like a labyrinth, a forgotten city was waiting to be awakened. The accounts of his fateful journey are inconsistent. Some say Middleton led a small expedition, crossing deep rivers, hacking through dense jungle, fighting off leeches and mosquitoes, and battling malaria. Others claim he preferred to go alone, quietly recording every faint trace left behind by this mysterious civilization. The only thing that remains today are old photographs, stained by time, circulating online as vague evidence. In these photos, a man in a wide-brimmed hat stands before ruins covered in vines, beside stones with strange shapes resembling spaceships or giant discs rising from the earth. Sometimes, groups of indigenous people appear in the background, their eyes both wary and distant, as if witnessing an ancient ritual. But no one has ever confirmed whether these photos are real or merely the product of collective imagination. Even Alfred's identity is shrouded in the fog of history. There is no official record of him in any major British archive. All that lingers are stories passed from person to person, telling that one day, Alfred vanished without a trace in the green wilderness. There are rumors that he was captured by a group of strangers, never to return, his body left somewhere deep within the jungle. For that reason, the city of Dalu remains nothing more than a gentle curse in the memories of those who crave adventure. No one knows if it ever truly existed, or if it is just the shadow of a yearning for conquest, an illusion and a secret forever belonging to the heart of the forest. The journey of Alfred Isaac Middleton has become a symbol for those who spend their lives chasing the impossible, leaving behind a silent, haunting question. How many secrets still sleep in the darkness of ancient jungles, and how many people have vanished forever in the search for them? The Nazi base in the Argentine jungle. Amid the endless green canopy of Argentina's jungles, there are secrets that have never wished to be exposed to sunlight. After World War II, as the horrifying crimes of the Nazis came to light, a wave of the defeated vanished quietly from Europe, carrying with them a blood-stained past and the ghosts of an unforgivable era. Argentina, at that time, became a haven for these fugitives in search of their final refuge. For decades, only whispered tales remained, stories of secret bases hidden deep in the forest, of concrete walls covered in moss and artifacts etched with the marks of a dark age. But it was only recently that researchers from the University of Buenos Aires finally uncovered clear evidence of such a base, located deep within a remote area near the Paraguayan border. What they found were not simple bunkers, but 3 solid stone buildings constructed to withstand the passage of time and the gaze of any curious outsider. Hidden within these walls were fragments of history, German coins, European porcelain plates, and items bearing the insignia of a regime that once spread terror across the world. Each small object felt like a message from the past, whispering of the presence of people who always lived on alert, waiting, watching, and hiding. These relics are not enough to confirm with certainty who once lived here. Some believe it was a refuge for high-ranking leaders, with names like Adolf Eichmann, even the man who directly oversaw the concentration camps, being mentioned. Yet all of this remains speculation, for the stone walls now stand as nothing more than ruins, and the handful of objects are far too few to paint a complete picture. Even so, this mysterious base has revived the haunting specter of Nazi ghosts that still seem to linger somewhere in the depths, like a curse that haunts the South American rainforest. There was a time when this place rose like a fortress for defeated souls, leaving behind questions that will never have answers. Did those who once hid here ever truly find peace? Or were they forever pursued, always fleeing from their own memories and from the judgment of history itself? The mysterious creature Jot in Indonesia. Amid the vast forests of Java, where the morning mist still weaves through the canopy and the calls of jungle birds echo like voices from a primordial age, there exists a story that sends chills down the spine of anyone who hears it. This is the legend of Jot, a mysterious creature with a human-like form, but small and uncanny, its long black hair nearly covering its entire body. The story of Jot first came to wider attention in 1997, but for the local people, the legend of this being has been whispered through many generations, woven into ancient beliefs and a silent fear of the wild. According to the tales, Jot stands less than a hand span tall, with a tiny body agile enough to slip between thick leaves or hide beneath the roots of ancient trees. Its jet-black eyes can glow faintly at night, so that anyone who stumbles upon it might think they've encountered a wandering spirit. The Javanese believe that Jot does not dwell only in the deep forest, but sometimes appears in sacred places, around remote villages, and even on rooftops during stormy nights. They say Jot possesses the power to transform, sometimes bringing omens or protecting children, but just as easily sowing misfortune if angered. Though modern science has never confirmed the existence of Jot, its shadow still lingers in folk stories, becoming an indispensable part of the spiritual life of many generations of Indonesians. Searches for evidence of Jot have produced only strange tales, tiny footprints pressed into wet earth, or the faint sound of laughter drifting through the forest after dark. The creature's presence seems to mark the boundary between reality and dream, between the human world and the sacred, mysterious heart of nature. Today, as the forests of Java gradually shrink before the march of modern life, the legend of Jot remains vivid in the minds of local people. It is not only a reminder of a strange being, but a symbol of belief in things that lie beyond human understanding. Whether real or just legend, Jot will always be the forest's enigma, stirring the imagination and curiosity of countless people around the world. The garden cities of the Amazon. When people think of the Amazon rainforest, most imagine a wild, untouched land where vast rivers wind through a sea of dense trees, hiding countless mysteries yet to be solved. However, few know that deep within the heart of this immense wilderness, there once existed an entire world of flourishing urban life, ancient garden cities that were home to tens of thousands of people. This discovery has completely changed scientists' understanding of the Amazon's history. In recent years, through a combination of field research and satellite imagery, archaeologists and the local Karuru people have identified more than 28 towns and villages scattered across a vast area in the state of Mato Grosso. The remnants include the foundations of houses, expansive plazas, and a carefully planned network of roads linking busy urban centers to smaller settlements on the outskirts. These roads were not only used for travel but also connected to bridges, crossing rivers, bustling ports, and tracts of land set aside for agriculture, altogether forming a sustainable urban network that lasted for thousands of years. These garden cities earned their name because ancient inhabitants knew how to take advantage of natural resources, cultivating fruit, trees, and crops right beside their homes without disrupting the balance of the surrounding jungle. They didn't build massive pyramids or grand stone palaces, but instead developed a unique socio-ecological system where cities and nature blended and thrived together. This proves that the Amazon was never just the land of wandering tribes, but was once a center of vibrant civilization with a complex social structure, advanced construction techniques, and impressive community organization. Around 400 years ago, however, everything changed. The true reasons remain unclear. Perhaps it was climate change, disease, the arrival of Europeans, or social upheaval. Cities began to be abandoned, their populations migrating toward modern coastal areas, leaving behind once bustling urban centers that gradually disappeared beneath the forest canopy. Only traces of roads, plazas, and ancient farmland remain, silent reminders of a mysterious civilization that wove humanity and nature together. Today, these ruins still lie hidden in the vast rainforest, waiting for those with the patience and passion to discover them. It is not just a story of a lost civilization, but a lesson in adaptation, creativity, and the extraordinary ability of humans to survive in one of the planet's most unforgiving environments. The omen fish. Beneath the deep blue waters off the coast of San Diego, the sudden appearance of a strange, silvery, ribbon-like creature sent a ripple of excitement and unease through the coastal community. It was an oarfish, an elusive, almost mythical species rarely seen near shore, forever linked to ominous omens in East Asian folklore. This particular fish, its slender body stretching over 12 feet long, shimmered with mirror-bright silver scales as it glided through the depths like a creature out of a fairy tale. Its head was crowned with a vivid red dorsal fin, streaming like silk threads, instantly calling to mind the image of a dragon from ancient Eastern legends. Oarfish are deep-sea dwellers, inhabiting waters so profound that sunlight cannot penetrate. They almost never rise to the surface, usually appearing only when they are sick or near death, a fact that adds to their air of mystery. In Asia, particularly in Japan, the oarfish has long been regarded as a messenger of the sea gods. Folk tradition holds that when these fish wash ashore, it is a sign that disaster may be imminent, earthquakes or tsunamis looming on the horizon. History records that, before the devastating Tohoku earthquake of 2011, the largest disaster in modern Japanese history, numerous oarfish were found washed up on beaches across the country. Scientists at the Scripps Institution of Oceanography have explained that while there is no concrete scientific evidence linking oarfish to natural disasters, the phenomenon continues to spark debate. One theory suggests that oarfish might be sensitive to subtle tremors on the ocean floor before an earthquake actually occurs, or that they could be affected by unusual changes in their deep-sea environment. The appearance of an oarfish off San Diego in the summer of 2024 stirred both curiosity and anxiety in many Western observers. Few people realize that the oarfish is the longest bony fish in the world, capable of reaching lengths of up to 20 meters. Yet, for centuries, humans have only encountered them in the strangest of circumstances. Most oarfish live quietly in the depths, from 200 to 1,000 meters below the surface, in a realm of eternal darkness and crushing oceanic pressure. Their shimmering silver skin acts as perfect camouflage amid the cold waters, rendering them nearly invisible to both predators and the few deep-sea explorers who venture into their world. Japan is not alone in attributing mysterious omens to the oarfish. In the Philippines, people call them dragonfish, believing them to be sacred creatures of the sea, while in China, the oarfish is likened to the long yu, the dragonfish that heralds great changes in nature. Today, as scientists continue to debate whether oarfish can truly sense earthquakes, the old legends remain vivid in the minds of many. Is there a hidden connection between the creatures of the deep and the violent shifts of the Earth's crust, or is it all simply a coincidence of nature? Whatever the answer, each appearance of the oarfish serves as a chilling reminder of the mysteries still lurking in the farthest reaches of the ocean, where, even now, modern science must sometimes yield to the age-old stories passed down through generations. The virus in the earthen jar. Deep in the heart of Germany, archaeologists unearthed one of the most haunting and unexpected discoveries of the Iron Age. Buried within ancient soil, they found small earthen jars containing traces of human blood, bits of internal organs, and, most remarkably, the remnants of an extremely dangerous virus, the Crimean Congo hemorrhagic fever virus, a deadly pathogen that still inspires fear around the world today. This discovery opens a strange doorway into the realm of ancient spirituality and medicine, where the line between belief and reality becomes blurred. Roughly 2,600 years ago, a man fell victim to a mysterious illness, suffering through excruciating and violent symptoms, bruises spreading across his body, nosebleeds, bleeding gums, and ultimately uncontrollable diarrhea. Death came swiftly, leaving his community powerless. But what happened next was even more peculiar. Instead of a conventional burial, the villagers performed a ritual previously unrecorded anywhere in Europe. They drained his blood, removed his internal organs, and carefully placed everything into earthen jars, which were then buried deep beneath an isolated mound. Thousands of years later, when scientists analyzed residue from the mouths of these jars, they were astonished to find traces of human blood and remnants of the Crimean Congo hemorrhagic fever virus, a disease that can today be transmitted from animals to humans by a single tick bite. This stands as the first archaeological evidence that ancient people had encountered this deadly virus, and the first documented instance of human blood being preserved and buried separately in earthen jars in Europe. The biggest question is why the Iron Age community practiced such a ritual. Did they believe that the blood of the afflicted carried a curse or contagion that needed to be separated from the body to prevent the spread of disease among the living? Or was this a mystical ceremony meant to appease restless spirits or invoke divine protection against the threat of plague? Perhaps by entrusting the blood and organs to the earth, the loved ones of the deceased hoped to break the chain of misfortune and keep evil from spreading within the community. Soldier from Mount Theus. When archaeologists conducted excavations near Mount Vesuvius, the site of the catastrophic volcanic disaster in 79 AD, they discovered a human skeleton lying face down on the beach in the town of Herculaneum, the city that was buried under ash along with Pompeii. What made this discovery especially remarkable were the items found alongside the remains. An exquisitely carved Roman suit of armor adorned with rare metal details, a pouch containing gold and silver coins, a set of carpenter's tools, and even part of the remains of a small boat. Unlike most unfortunate victims who tried to flee the disaster, this skeleton was positioned as if moving toward the town rather than escaping from it. Many researchers believe that this could have been a Roman soldier from a rescue team sent to help the citizens of Herculaneum amid the suffocating smoke and chaos. Some even suggest that the armor and the bag of gold and silver mark him as a high-ranking warrior, possibly a member of the famed Praetorian Guard, the elite protectors of the empire. The discovery of carpenter's tools next to the remains only deepens the mystery. Was this soldier also tasked with repairing or building rescue boats, or were these simply tools grabbed in haste to aid in the evacuation when the city was in peril? Though the full truth behind this find may never be known, the remains stand as a vivid testament to the brave souls who, undaunted by danger, were willing to plunge into the inferno to save their fellow humans during one of the most tragic moments in the history of ancient Rome. If you found these mysterious stories intriguing, please share your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss out on our next discoveries. We look forward to seeing you in the next video.